as this rod's getting hit. I think we got one. We do. Oh, he's pulling line. Look at him, he's stripping drag, buddy. Hi y'all, if you're ready to catch some catfish, grab your rain jacket, let's go. We're liable to get wet today. We got a weather system about to move through here in a few hours, but I'm hoping we can bust some catfish ahead of this front that's coming. So we're gonna try to get some bait here first thing. I've got some gizzard shad here in my cooler. I'd like to get us some fresh shad if possible. So I'm gonna make a few throws with the net here in the back of this creek. If we can get some fresh shad, great. If not, we'll use what we have. But then I'm gonna start fishing here, and we're gonna troll, just dragging some baits, work our way out of this creek all the way to the mouth of it. Then when we get out there, I'm gonna hit the spot lock. We're gonna sit there and suspend some baits there at the entrance of this thing. So come with me, y'all. I'm gonna get y'all here in the chest. Again, you best grab that rain jacket because we liable to get drenched depending on the timing of how this system moves in today. I'm taking a bit of a gamble getting out here, but if it pays off, we're gonna bust some big fish. I'm also taking a gamble here trying to throw this cast net with y'all in the chest here of my life jacket as we liable send this camera flying with the net. You can see I got some nasty old shad there from the last trip y'all didn't clean out of this net. I thought y'all was gonna clean that out. It's a good thing I didn't have this thing inside my vehicle. It'd have stunk it up. Let me get a hold of this net here. We're gonna just work our way back here in this creek. Right now, I'm 7 feet deep. And we're gonna work back a little shallower. And I'm looking right now, folks. Just keep your eyes peeled. I seen some flipping over here to the right. I'd like to get some gizzards. If we get some thread fins, that'll be okay too, because I do have a light tackle rod. We're gonna try to keep some of them alive here. I'm just trying to keep an eye out, see. Yeah, I think that may be thread fins right there, but we may, actually I think I can see them. It looks like I don't know if y'all can see or not, but it looks like the water is a darker color right there. It's probably a school of them. We'll get over here a little closer. We'll throw and see what happens. If it's a million thread fin, we'll keep a few. Maybe make a couple more throws around to see if we can get some gizzards. Either way, we fishing today, folks. So come with me. Pack you a snack. Pack you a rain jacket. Oh, got my net messed up right there. Lord, it's still messed up. Y'all, I swear, every time we go to do anything, always a malfunction of some kind. Let me just throw right here and see what happens. That was a lousy throw. I'm so paranoid about throwing this camera out of my life jacket. It messes with my throwing motion. But we're gonna make it work. Let's work our way back here. I think between making a lousy throw and not being where I need to be, we'll just work our way back here around this pocket again. We're right now 5 feet deep. Usually like to throw up shallow, regardless of time of year, but water temps right now 50 degrees back in here. We've had a couple warm days, kind of heated things up a little bit. I say warm, it's been warmer. That was a slightly better throw. Got a 6-foot net here. That's my preferred length for kayak. There's what we want, folks. There's what we want right there. Get them things in here. Imagine that. You make a better throw and you get some bait. All right, what I want to do now is I want to fill up our bucket. I'm not going to put all them gizzard shad in that bucket because we're not going to be able to keep them all alive. But I do want to put 2 or 3 of them in here. That way when we get out to the end of this creek, we can drop down some live baits. So we'll put them 3 in there. I'm gonna move them out of the way. We can slide this bucket forward. Here, you gizzards, get out the way. There we go. All right, y'all, let's make another throw or 2 back here. I don't need too many, because we do have some in the cooler, but if we can get fresh, fresh is always best. So keep your eyes open here, see if we see any more flipping. If not, we'll just kind of make some random throws back here. Good news, if you're seeing this, I didn't throw the camera out of the chest apparently. Man, how bad would that be if I threw this camera into the water? I tell you what, as cold as it is, I ain't going in after it. Okay. Yeah, we got some more right there. Actually, we didn't. We got the wrong species. All you bass fishermen out there, I found one. A large jaw. Well, folks, successful cast, wrong species. A couple of them dang gizzards already. That one's already floating. We're gonna get him out of there in a minute. You get out of there. If you ain't gonna live, we ain't gonna keep you in that bucket. I was just hoping to keep just 2 or 3 alive till we got out there. It may or may not work out. I don't have any aeration in that bucket or anything, but usually you can keep them alive for a little while. Nothing. Just one time, folks. You come fishing with me on these trips. Just one time I'd like to see y'all show up with bait instead of making me do all this. Here it is, cold out here. A little bit warmer day today than what we've had here lately. But it's still cold. And you're getting soaking wet throwing a cast net. It'd be nice if y'all would bring the bait so we didn't have to do this. I ain't seeing nothing real far back up in here. We may have to go out just a little further. Let's see what this does. Oh, nothing. Let's you know, when I see them flip, they were kind of there in front of that dock, which was a little bit deeper. I'm not seeing nothing flipping back up in here as it gets shallower back here. The back of this creek is dry, where they've got our water down for winter drawdown. We're down, I don't know, 8 feet, 10 feet off the summer highs. So back of that creek right there is dry. Let me just throw out here just a little deeper. I may have run all these things off. It don't matter, we got enough, but like I said, if I can get us a few more, I'll gladly take them. The shad in my cooler getting a little bit old at this point. They're like 3 days old, I think. It's about as long as I want to use shad. All right, I think I'm feeling more comfortable throwing this thing with the camera in my chest here. Let's see what we got here. Anything? Yeah, we got some right there. No, it's another one we can't use. That is a bluegill. which here in Tennessee, you cannot keep bluegill that are caught via cast net. Got to know your laws where you're at there, people, if you're going to throw a net. Some things you can keep, some things you can't. Some bodies of water, some states have restrictions on the size of the net you can use. Here in Tennessee, we don't have no rules like that, but some states, I know like Ohio, I think they've got a maximum 5-foot net, I think, that you can throw, I believe. I know there's some restriction on it up there, for instance. All right, let's just make, we're kind of right in here in this depth in front of that dock where we got the initial batch of them. I'm not seeing anything flipping though. I don't want to spend a ton of time doing this. Well, folks, fiddlesticks. Let me get over here closer to the bank. I know we got that net full right there out a little deeper, but I have a lot more confidence. Even though I'm not seeing anything up shallow, I have a lot more confidence throwing up shallow. Let's throw one over here on the bank before we move on. Like I said, we're gonna start fishing here at the back of this thing. Troll our way out dragging baits. We'll move half mile an hour or so, pulling them out. And then once we get out there, I want to spend the remainder of the trip hopefully staying dry, suspending baits. I'm concerned with, they're talking about some heavy downpours this afternoon, so if we get caught out here in this mess, we're gonna get drenched. I've got my umbrella, I already got my rain jacket on. So, y'all high and dry wherever you watching this at. Lucky. Yeah, nothing. Boy, how is that? Man, we basically got one good throw, and then nothing else. But I'm not seeing a lot back here. Most of the time, in the winter months, you're going to see in these creeks, you're going to see big schools of threadfin shad everywhere. And usually in the back of them, in the pockets, or the actual back of a creek like this, where the water's kind of, you know, it's ran dry where they've lowered it so much. Usually you'll find some gizzards. And I'm usually throwing 3 feet or less, but I just threw out here because we saw them shad flipping, but I don't see anything flipping at the present time. I'm gonna make one more throw right here. Just duties and giggles, folks, bear with me. It'd probably help if I made a better throw, but nevertheless. Nah, nothing. All right, well, let's roll with what we got, folks. I don't want to spend a great deal of our time with this net because I know our trip is going to be, or at least comfortable fishing time today is going to be shortened if this weather system moves in. So we've got a couple here in the bucket. One of them seems to be doing okay, the other not so much. We'll switch this water out at some point up here. Them shad, they start shedding their slime and scales and stuff, and they don't do well in a small container with no aeration. They just don't last long. But again, hopefully we can keep at least one of them alive till we get out to the mouth of this thing. There come that other one up off the bottom then, start swimming around. Okay. And we'll take our others here. We're going to use them as cut bait today. I'm gonna work us out here. We're 5 feet deep. I'm gonna get us out here about this dock, and we're gonna cut. I think I'm gonna run a big bait. Take one of these Gizzard shad, maybe just put some cuts in him, run him whole, have a big bait on, and then we'll take a headpiece. And that'll be what we drag off the back here. So I'm gonna get us set. We're gonna go in a straight line here. Let me push the button. And I'm gonna set our speed. Put us about a half a mile an hour. So let's get baited up, y'all. I'm excited today, folks. We got this weather system moving in, and oftentimes you get like a, I don't know, a feeding burst, a feeding window, whatever you want to call it, ahead of a front. Like fish will start kind of feeding up. And if that happens out here today, we're going to be in for a good time, man. Let me see my knife at there. We go. You know, could have already had the tools and everything out here, but you didn't. I gotta do everything for y'all. Y'all make me cut the bait, catch the bait, bait the hooks. Yeah, let's do that right there. Just pick a hole in here. Put some slices in him. What am I hung on? There we go. Okay. Y'all gonna hear me sniffling a little bit. Again, it's a warmer day than what we've had, but it is still colder than my body likes, folks. I am not a wintertime kind of guy. Yeah, that right there. So we got us a, I don't know, what do you call that? 8 inches or so. There's some women out there saying that's what he said. Let's start letting out some line on that one. Now, let's take one of these and we'll use a head bait. On this side, let me show you the rigs here too. I guess that would be helpful. I'm in a rush to get everything going here, y'all. You have to bear with me. I'm being rude, not showing you what I'm doing and how I'm rigging and all that. You'd think I'd done this once or twice, but I ain't got no better at it. So the rig here, again, we're going to have a Gizzard shad head on this side. This is a dragging rig, so we've got a 10-aught size circle hook. It's an 80-pound monofilament leader. Just above the hook, we've got a float and a rattle. That's just a little 3-inch peg float there, a little rattle. The leader's, I don't know, 3 to 4 foot long. Got a dragging sinker on a 3-way, 40-pound main line. And of course, I got my signature series Golly Whopper rods here from Catfish Sumo. Shimano Dakota reel. So we're going to let out some line on that side. And I'm going to get myself situated here. We're going to start making our way out. Again, we're going to move about half a mile an hour. So, and I'm terrible with judging distances. So I don't know exactly how far we've got to go in this creek. You can probably see the edge of the land up there. That is not the end of the old creek channel that was here before they made the reservoir. Bear with me, folks. I gotta get my handkerchief out here. My nose is running. My eyes have been watering. Okay, now we're in business. Now I feel like I can talk. But anyway, I imagine it's probably just under a half a mile probably to go. So it'll probably take us about an hour dragging baits. Once we get out there, I'm going to hit the spot lock and we'll suspend some baits. But if we were to really get on some fish in this creek, we may make a couple passes, keep working it. Or if we see that fish are wanting a moving bait, we'll keep doing it. We'll do whatever works. But the last 2 trips out, for regular viewers, you've seen it, I've busted big fish suspending. Now, I ain't got a lot of bites. The bites have been very slow my last couple sessions, but I've gotten 2 really nice fish, 1 on each of the last 2 sessions. So we're going to try to keep it going here. We've had, today is the 4th day of warmer temperatures. I say warmer lightly because it's still too cold for me, but it's been warmer, more stable weather ahead of this front that's coming. And so I figured each day was going to get a little better building up to this, and we'll see how it goes today. I wish I could have fished yesterday. Yesterday was the best of the weather. Daphne the dog went on a walkabout, escaped my yard, and by the time we got her back, it was really too late for me to get on the dang water. So Daphne screwed us yesterday, but we're gonna make the most of it today. See what we can do out here. I'm gonna go ahead and flip the bail on this one. We're not gonna run these things too terribly far behind us. The water here is calm. We'll have to get this one going here. That one wasn't, for some reason that one wasn't really putting out line there. It wasn't pulling out easily. Right there was a shad flipping to the left. Maybe I should have thrown out a little deeper. It don't matter. We've got enough here. We've got, what we got 2 in the bucket. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 more over there. Maybe another one too behind the bucket, plus the ones on our line. So we've got enough. We're good for this morning here. I'm getting out here a little earlier too than what I fished on my recent trips. So lately I've been fishing the afternoon right up until just before dark, because it's the warmest part of the day, most comfortable on me. But again, we've had limited bites, good fish, but limited bites. And so with the weather system moving in this afternoon and the fact I just kind of want to know what's going on a little earlier in the day, we're starting this trip a little bit earlier than what I have been. It should be, let me see what time it is right now. It's 11:10 right now. So 11:10, so we're starting a couple hours earlier than what I've been doing the last couple days. We'll see if that helps our calls or not. It may not make a difference. It may make all the difference in the world. We'll just have to see. But I want to try some dragging in these creeks. Again, the last 2 trips out, I have just spot locked or anchor fished basically at the mouth of those creeks, hoping to get fish coming in or out. As they turn on, become active, move into feed, I was just hoping to intercept them. If fish are back here, if they are actively feeding in this creek this morning here ahead of this front, they could already be back up in here, chasing shad, etc. And so I'd like to just pull out here, work from the shallow. We're 12 feet deep right now at this moment. Pull all the way out. When we get out here to the entrance of this creek, it's going to be low 40s in depth. So we'll cover a big swath of water this morning on our way out here from 10 feet deep to 40 feet deep and see what happens in between. Then set up out there, and hopefully as this front gets closer, fish maybe get a little bit more active, turn on. We're going to be sitting right there waiting on them, just how I normally like to fish. And I'm going to pull up here just a second on my phone and see where this weather is at right now. I mean, I've got my umbrella, folks. I've got the rain jacket on, but okay. So right now, folks, we're still good. Everything's still west of us. Let's do the little future cast thing here. It's moving north and east. Well, the way it's looking there, if the radar's right, like we may be, looks like about 3:30 according to this right now, so we may stay dry, folks, if I'm out of here by 3:30. But they say this afternoon and this evening we're supposed to get maybe upwards of an inch of rain in our area here. So apparently going to be some heavier downpours this afternoon and evening tonight and stuff. So
It may mess up things a little bit. The wintertime, it's just one series of weather patterns after another, it seems like. At least here in East Tennessee anyway, we do a lot of fluctuation. Right now, I think temperatures today is supposed to be mid-50s for highs. Next week, we'll be back down highs in high 30s, low 40s. It's just constantly changing this time of year. And if you can fish multiple days in a row, oftentimes you can kind of figure out a pattern, figuring out a depth, figure out what kind of bait fish want, and be able to ride that bite for a little while until something changes. Now, one of the issues that I have fishing in the wintertime is that I'm a pansy in cold weather. I just don't like going out in it if it's cold, especially if it's cold and windy or cold and raining. I usually just keep my butt at the house. So it's hard for me to kind of pattern bites because we don't usually get so many days in a row of consistent, stable weather. And by the time I figure out something, the weather's changed. And I'm just not real good at adapting on the fly. I'm kind of reliant on really getting lucky in a sense. So what I like to do is put myself in places that I know fish are going to have to work through if they feed. And so creek mouths and deep points, you can fish them year round. There's never a bad time to fish either. But in the winter months, when I know there's all these creeks here on the Tennessee River system, and I'm on Fort Loudon Reservoir today, but all of these creek systems, they're going to have bait somewhere in them, right? Like it's a food source that will be here for these fish all winter long. And so what I like to do is oftentimes either put myself at the creek mouth or put myself on the tip of a deep point so that when fish work up, they retreat out there, the deep water. They'll bury down in that mud and stuff when the conditions aren't favorable. When they turn on and feed and they work up into these creeks, I try to put myself in their way. I'm trying to put myself right in the path that they're going to take and make them swim through my baits, and I've got an easy meal for them there. And when I've timed it correctly and the fish are feeding when I happen to be on the water, then I get bit. And so it helps me to do that versus, just going out and fishing in just miserable conditions to try to stay on top of fish and try to, pattern what it is that they're doing at any given time. So to each their own. I know a lot of people like fishing in the winter. Some people seem to tolerate the cold better than I do. Some people, of course, the fellas in the boats, they've got them enclosures on there. They can put a propane heater and it'll be 75 degrees inside their boat. There's a fish. Oh, he's pulling too, buddy. He's pulling. We're already hooked up, folks. We're a few minutes into this. He's coming right at us too. He's still coming at us. That was on that shad head. Okay, so we got a fun sizer here. Well, he come right at us too. We're going to play him out a little bit. Larger dink, smaller fish. He looked bigger. When I first got a glimpse of him, he looked a little bigger. That's a good sign, man. We're already, where are we at in this video? We're less than 30 minutes in, and most of that was spent with me just throwing that net. We already busted one here, folks. That's a good sign. I'm feeling more optimistic by the second. He's got that hook going through the bottom lip here. We got to be careful with this one, y'all. Oh. You ain't front camera worthy, Mr. Blue Cat. I'm just going to hold you out like that. He's got a little mud up there at the top of his back. You can tell he has been down in the mud at some point here recently, but has come out today. Okay, well, let's, that one ate a shad head, so you know what, let's put another one on here, folks. I want to run that whole shad. The fact that my biggest fish in the last couple sessions came on a live gizzard shad. It was comparable size to the ones in the bucket there. I want to run that whole one on that hook out there, and we may not get bit at all. It may be just a mistake. But if these fish are aggressive and feeding ahead of this thing, that thing may get smoked too. So we're going to go for it today, y'all. We get out here, start suspending baits. We're going to put on one of them big live shad. We'll probably do a whole dead shad too, and then a couple pieces of cut bait. I did bring my light tackle rod, and I had thought if we got on some threadfin shad back here, or saw a big school of threadfin shad, we'd throw over them, get us some smaller live baits to put on it. But we didn't get any thread fins on throwing back here in the back of the creek, and I'm really not seeing any out through here so far. So we'll probably just do 4 heavier tackle rods once we get out here. Or, you know, again, if we bust some fish dragging into this creek, we'll just keep doing what's working. You know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But I want to see. I'm encouraged by that fish right there hitting so quickly, but I definitely want to wait before we make any snap judgments to keep doing what we're doing till we get a full pass on this creek here. I just want to see how we do as we move on out. And I'm not following any specific contour working out of this creek. You can see here on the graph, maybe I'll try to show you there. We're just working our way out of it, kind of going right down the middle of it here. Once fish move up into the shallows, into these creeks, it's really tough to know where they're going to go. They could be right down the middle of it. They could be chasing bait up under these docks. They could be just following schools of shad around. Like, you just don't know. That's why you typically see me fishing out at the creek mouths, right? Because out there, it's a little bit more predictable. I don't know where fish are going to go once they move up into these creeks, but getting in and out, I know the path they're going to take. And so back here, what we're trying to do is obviously cover some water, try to put our baits in front of some fish as we troll along, but we're also creating a scent trail as we pull along, and that blood and the oils and the slime and everything from the fish, it creates a trail so that active fish that are working through here, swimming around, actively feeding, looking for an easy meal, we're creating a trail for them to come find it, and we're certainly moving slow enough at 0.5 mile an hour that they can easily catch up to us if we pull this bait in their vicinity. But, you know, this is one of those situations here when you're fishing these creeks, and my regular viewers, my regular fishing buddies on here, you know I absolutely hate planer boards. I hate fishing with them. I think it's the least fun way to catch fish because you got to throw out so much line, then clip your board on and let out even more line to get a proper spread. And then, you know, part of the fight, you're fighting the board more so than you are the fish. It's just not fun to me. I don't like it. But I'll be the first to admit, in situations like this, where you're in a creek, or let's say you're out on a deep flat, both creeks and flats, prime examples of places where fish could be literally anywhere, just chasing bait, just, you know, on the hunt for food. In those situations, the more water you can cover, the better likelihood you have of success. And so planer boards are a really great tool when fishing places like back in these creeks, because, you know, we're running baits. My rods are 7 foot long, And we've got, hell, I don't know, 2 foot, let's say, here between them. So our baits are roughly 16 feet apart right now as we're pulling along, right? Whereas if we had planer boards and 8 or 10 rods out, you could have baits every few feet, all the way from one side of the shore to the other side. And so it really wouldn't matter where fish are at, you would have an opportunity to bring a bait in front of them. But again, it's a technique that I just don't find to be fun. And when I go fishing, I want to have fun. Would it help me get more videos if I pulled planer boards? Yes, I could pull planer boards 7 days a week and get a video 7 days a week. But I would rather sacrifice some fish being caught. I'd rather sacrifice a few videos a year and do what I want to do that's more fun. Now, you're doing the same technique right now. I'm dragging, same as I would be if I had planer boards. But when you pick up on the rod now, it's a lot shorter distance behind me and you don't have no board to fool with. So it's a lot more fun. It's not as fun as suspending baits and having a bait directly under the kayak. You don't get that same adrenaline rush from a bait just getting hammered and the side of the kayak going down. You don't get the same feel, but it's still more fun, in my opinion, than pulling the boards. But again, I'll be the first to admit that it's not, what I'm doing right now is not as effective as somebody else being in this creek pulling boards through it right now. They're going to have way better chance of success than me or you. Not to say that we won't have success. I've caught a lot of fish doing this. And you all have seen me win some tournaments fishing against guys with planer boards where I've dragged baits, same as they're doing, and I've just used 2 rods, no boards. But in those situations, I'm really working the contours out on a main channel ledge, for instance. I'm putting my baits where fish are going to be swimming. And back up in here, they could be swimming literally anywhere. But it's worth checking out. Doing this is worth doing for us, especially here first thing, because oftentimes, ahead of weather systems, the pressure changes, whatnot. It's like these fish can sense something is going to happen, and a light switch flips on, if you will. They start working through, heavily feeding ahead of it, and if you find yourself in that situation, you can be in for a good bite. So I just wanted to test it here, see if anything's happening in this creek. And if it is, great. If not, we'll just do what we do, fish normal once we get out here. But I've had success suspend fishing year-round. But lately, the last couple trips out, it's been a very slow bite, but worthwhile to do because of the big fish I've got, but just been a slow bite. And so I just kept hoping as the week went on here with this stable weather, and I really thought yesterday was the best of the weather. Daphne the dog really stuck it to us yesterday. I was getting ready to leave and I let her out to go pee. And I finished getting dressed and everything, and I go to let her in and she's gone. And so it took a while for her to reappear a mile away from me. And so it cost me a day, which in the end wasn't the end of the world. I got a lot of productive stuff done around the house yesterday. First thing, in this kayak, I got my wires ran back internally here. I've switched everything back over to my Hobie Pro Angler. I've told this the last couple videos, but if you've missed videos, you're behind or whatever, I'll give you the Cliff's Notes. I tried out the new Bonafide XTR 130. I bought that kayak a couple months ago. Got it out on the water finally, and I don't like it. It's not a good kayak for me. It's just not going to be a good fit for how I like to fish. So I had taken everything off of this kayak to put on the Bonafide, and since I don't like the Bonafide and I'm not going to be keeping it, I've had to take everything back off of it and put on here. So that's required some time. So one of the things I've taken off was my live scope. and I'm going to leave it off. I'm just going to put it on a portable mount and use it when I actually plan on actually using the live scope as it's intended to do, instead of having it as like a hood ornament, basically. So I've taken it off. I've put my old graph, this Ray Marine 5-inch graph here, I've put it back on this kayak, and I've ran my wires back inside the hull up to the battery. So basically my kayak, as you see it now, is the same rig I was running in 2021. We've gone back to the future, Marty. It's just, I've tried things through the years, looking for greener pastures, and this setup here works for me. I'm comfortable in it. I wish this front hatch of this kayak didn't exist, because days like today it don't matter, but you get out on rough, choppy water, you take water over the bow, it gets inside the hull, things can get sketchy quick. But of the kayak, I like this kayak way better than I like the Bonafide, so we're going to roll with it. So a friend of mine, Chris Minahan, is actually coming down soon he's committed to buying the Bonafide from me. I'm going to sell it to him, and he lives up in Ohio, so he's going to come down and pick it up on his way to Louisiana and go down there and take it out. And I think he'll like it. He pulls planer boards all the time, and so it's going to be a good setup for him. It just wasn't the right fit for me. But anyway, yesterday, since the dang dog knocked me out of going fishing, I said I'm going to get these wires run back inside the hull on this one. I took my Hobie Lynx, which that's my favorite kayak of all time. I love that thing. I've rigged me up a new rod holder mount on it. I showed my channel members in a channel members video what I had done, but I'll be fishing out of it again hopefully soon. As soon as this weather gets out of here, I'll probably take it out maybe on the next trip, or definitely in the next week or so. And we'll try out those new rod holders that I have mounted onto it. I don't know if the way I've got them rigged is going to work out. I've got the rod holder bases mounted to a 2x4, which is then secured to the kayak. And how I've secured it, I don't know. Some of y'all are going to think I'm a moron with I've done it, and I may be a moron. But we're not going to know till we get out there. And so it could be a total disaster, or it could be a home run. But we got to try it and see. So I got all that done yesterday. And I went ahead and got it painted and everything too, just in case it does work out, it'll at least look good. And then I did leaves yesterday. We're way late into the year. I thought I was done with leaves a month ago, but with the cold and the wind and everything we've had, I had a whole yard full of dead leaves. So I got out there and on the mower and mulched all that up yesterday, which is probably contributing to why I'm still kind of snotty today. Nose running and eyes watering a little bit more than they should be, because I was out there in all that dust yesterday. So, nevertheless, we lost the day that I would have liked to have fished, but it was a productive day. I got a lot of stuff done that I was needing to get done, and we've still got a window of time here today where we can hopefully bust some fish. We're going to just try to make the most of it, man. That's all you can do in the winter months, is just try to work around Mother Nature. It seems like from about summertime, once we get into June in the summer, June through about late September, early October, weather is pretty stable here. Relatively low wind. This past year we had very little rain. Like, if you want to go fishing, you can go fishing. Winter months, it's a little bit more, it seems like we get a lot more rain. There's a lot more wind. Certainly the cold you got to deal with. There's just less opportunities to, at least for kayak fishing anyway, in the winter months here than in the summer months. But one of the things that I'm going to be doing, this is breaking news here, y'all, because this just happened last night, in the process of working this out anyway. I'm going to go back to the Florida Keys. I had planned on going to fish with my friend Brandon on the Crystal River in Florida. And he's going down there, I think starting the 9th, I believe, January 9th, I believe. And I've got an open invite to fish with him down there. Stay at, his folks have a place close to there, and stay with them. And I'd planned on, weather permitting, going down there. Well, I'm online last night. I'm scrolling through social media. And the place that I stayed at in the Florida Keys, it's like a timeshare resort type place. I got an opportunity. Somebody's got their week up for rent down there starting on the 11th. And since I had already thought I was going to go down there and fish with Brandon then anyway, I'm like, well, hell far. I want to get on that because it was a good price. It's $9.50 for the week. And, you know, and I know that may seem like a lot depending on where you may vacation at, but for the Florida Keys, $9.50 for a week is an amazingly good price. Some of the hotels down there, $250, $300 a night. I mean, it's a very expensive place to stay, especially during peak snowbird season when people are traveling down there. So $9.50 for the week, and I already know the place. It's a good place. Like, it's a good opportunity. So I messaged the woman, and she said she had never rented her week out before. She has to call the resort and see the process. And I said, well, I've rented before down there from, you know, another person the last couple years. It's been pretty simple to arrange. But she's supposed to be getting back with me today, and as soon as she does, I am all over that. I will pay her the money now and secure that, and I'll go fish with Brandon, hopefully, weather permitting, before I go down, and then go down there for a week, and hopefully do some more shark fishing. And hell, we got somebody coming up here. Oh, we got a fish too. We got a fish on our whole shad. Bad timing with another boat coming. That's our whole shad right there, folks. He don't feel too bad either. He don't feel bad. He's not coming right at us like the other one was. Y'all wave.
Catching them?
Got one right now.
Got one?
I ain't reeling in a snag right here.
Oh shit, man, you're famous. I see you on YouTube. How are you?
Oh, good. How are you?
Good. You come up in Good Cougar Lake, don't you?
Sometimes, yeah. If we got a tournament going on.
Fine good today?
This is my second one in this creek. I netted some gizzard shad back there in the back of it and started fishing my way out. I ain't been on the water maybe 45 minutes or so. The first one wasn't. This one feels like it's a little bigger. But I don't know yet. I ain't got to look at him. This one ate a whole gizzard shad, about 7-8 inches. Should be getting close now. Yeah, he's fighting. Definitely gonna be bigger than the last one. Yeah, fun sizer. Yeah, I'll take it. Yeah, same to you. All right, folks, we got us another one here. This one, whole gizzard shad. At least that fella was nice. Another catfisherman. He mentioned Hoover. He must be from Ohio. Maybe he's down here vacationing or something. Come here, fish. Nope. We'll actually give this one some front camera time here, folks. Come up here. Yes. Oh. Act like somebody. You're showing out here in front of hundreds of people on the interweb and one fella in person. Fish, you ought to be ashamed. All right, man. Well, that's 2, folks. That's 2, and where we at on time? 2 in less than an hour. Again, part of that time, I don't know how much time I spent throwing the net. Let's set our camera mount up here. We'll give this some front camera time here, folks. Okay. All right, there we go. Yeah, it's a solid fun sizer. Big appetite. Definitely fought very hard for his size. This one fought above his weight class for sure. It was a good time. I thought he was going to be bigger than what he turned out to be, which is a good sign. That means that they're very aggressive here. That other one didn't fight as hard, but he spent part of the time just swimming straight at us. And this one here fought good. So maybe these fish are going to be active and turned on today, y'all. We'll see you, buddy. All right. I don't know what that fella's doing. I didn't ask and he didn't say. I don't know. It looked like he had dragging rigs tied on, so I don't know if he's gonna go back there and drag out of this creek or if he's just going back there for bait possibly. I don't know. We'll see. If he's going back there and dragging out, we definitely, no matter how we do, we won't make another pass down this. I ain't gonna get in his way, especially if he's down here vacationing or something. Plenty of places for us to fish. Let's take another whole shad here. I'm just gonna go up under the gill, out the nose. I'm gonna put a couple slits in him here just for duties and giggles. Let's get him bleeding a little bit, you know, as we pull along. That other one that we put on there first thing, he might have still been kicking a little bit, maybe. Being alive, being in the water, he may have still lived. These shad here that we've had out, they're dead now, although we do still have the 2 in the bucket, and they seem to be doing okay still. So that's good. That's a good sign. We're 31 feet deep here, by the way, now too. That guy. You catching anything? Well, hell, I got one on right now, buddy. You see me reeling it in. I ain't reeling in a snag here. Lord help us. I don't remember what I was talking about before that fish interrupted. Probably wasn't important, no way. Could definitely see the clouds starting to move in more. I hope that fella brought a rain suit. He better brought him a slicker and some galoshes. Because if he's planning on fishing all afternoon, he's going to get... Oh, he's throwing a net back there. If he comes back out, if we talk to him again, I want to ask him how he done, because he's throwing that net farther. He's throwing it a lot deeper than what we were. I wonder if he ain't got live scope or maybe mark some on his graph. I didn't turn my graph on until right before I started the camera. So I wasn't paying attention coming down this creek. Historically, I just know you go to the back of these creeks in the winter, especially when it's either a warm afternoon and it's been sunny all day, or if you've had a stretch of a few warm days, you can usually get on them, the backs of the creeks and the little pockets and stuff. I'd be curious to know how he done back there. If he'll tell us, I don't know. Some fishermen are funny about that, I don't know. We'll see. All right, y'all, fish number 2. We've got 2 in the kayak, and hope and optimism for the rest of our time out here, folks. Oh, something. Thought I heard something hitting over here to the right of us. I didn't today, but I have been on the hunt for some skipjack. And skipjack have been, it's been like chasing a unicorn, man. Like, you just can't find them nowhere. I can't anyway. So I've been rolling with the shad mostly lately because they're at least easier to get and predictable. We could have got a lot more shad today if I had spent more time throwing the net. Like, if I'd put in an hour to it, I didn't want to spend that much time, especially since we're trying to catfish. But like, if I was just making a bait run, we could have thrown that net for an hour or so and we would have got plenty. Now, not the last video, but the one before, well, I actually filmed it out here at the mouth of this creek, actually. I'd come back in here and made one throw and got, I don't know how many daggone gizzard shad. I mean, it was a lot. I really got lucky with that throw. But, you know, shad, regardless, there's a gazillion of them out here on the Tennessee River, and so you can usually find you some shad pretty quickly and easily. And in the winter months, it's a better bait for me. I don't particularly like it in the warmer months. You'll catch fish with it, but it seems to be, you get a lot of small fish with it. I like in the warmer months, of course, I love skipjack. I like it year round, but I like white bass, yellow bass, things like that more. In the summer months, when it's the coldest in the winter, is when I like the gizzard shad. When we've got water temps today, 50 degrees, according to that, but really 50 degrees and under, especially when you get down to the 40s, I think shad is a better bait. Once in the spring, it starts heating up, you start getting above 50, low 50s. Shad will still work good, but everything, as fish start to really aggressively feed, everything starts working a little better. But I really like crappie in the early spring. Crappie really shines around here as the water starts to warm, like March. Depends on the year and the weather and stuff, but usually sometime in March is when you start seeing kind of an uptick in water temperatures around in my area. January, February is the coldest month. Usually February is about the coldest month, it seems like. And then March, sometimes it's early March, sometimes it's late March, but you usually start seeing the water temps start to climb. And when that happens, crappie usually gets to be a better bait for you. At least in my experience anyway, both live and cut. And then once it gets warmer on into spring, literally everything's going to work because those fish are going to be feeding up, getting ready to, putting on weight for the spawn and stuff. So everything will work. But skipjack then, I guess because skipjack are a thicker fish. There's a lot of meat to them. There's also a lot of oil, a lot of blood. I imagine it's got a lot of nutrients, more so than maybe take a shad, for instance, these shad here, 8 inches long, they're very thin. There's not a lot of meat to them. And I've said this before, but you cut open one of these shad, they are just completely full of doo-doo. I've never seen so much doo-doo in my life as what comes out of a shad when you cut them. So I don't know what a catfish's taste buds are like, but would you rather eat a fish that's full of crap or a fish that's maybe not so full of crap? If it was me, I'm going to take the one that's not so full of crap. But that's just me. I can't relate to a catfish's taste buds. Hell, gizzard shad poop may be a delicacy in the catfish world. There's a lot of human beings out there on the other side of the planet that will eat things that are considered a delicacy, and I'm going to puke as soon as it hits my tongue. So, to each their own, I guess is what I'll say with that. We had some really bad food the other night. Me and my girlfriend, we went out on Christmas night to get something to eat. And where I live, nothing's open on Christmas. You've got the Waffle House, you've got China King Buffet, and McDonald's was open. And so our number one choice out of those three was Waffle House, of course. But apparently it was everybody in town's number one choice because there was every table full and a line waiting to get a table. And so we didn't want to wait. And so of McDonald's and China King Buffet, we reluctantly chose China King Buffet. That was the wrong decision, but we went. And there was a time when I was, and this was a few years ago, there was a time when I was really into China King Buffet, like I was going pretty regularly for their lunch special. But then they started making fun of me when I would go in there. The dude at the cash register, he would make fun of me. I guess I was coming too much, like he knew me and he knew what I was going to order. Because I'm a creature of habit. I find something I like, I stick with it. So I was getting the Szechuan beef. And he started making fun. Every time he comes, oh, you back again. Why don't you try something different? You know, kind of taunting me a little bit. And so I stopped going as frequently. Then they raised the prices. And the lunch special suddenly wasn't so special anymore. So I kind of got out of the habit of going. And I hadn't been in a long time. And then I saw, it was a few months ago, they popped up on the local news when a restaurant has a bad health score, the local news will post it, and they got hit with a 70. And I think they'd found roaches and inappropriate temperatures on their buffet and all this stuff. And so I ain't been back, bottom line. I ain't been back. But it's Christmas, and Waffle House was packed, so we got China King Buffet or McDonald's. Lesser of two evils, so we went to China King Buffet, and it used to be good a few years ago. Like I enjoyed it, but boy, it was awful. It was rough, man. I probably took a couple years off my life by going there, but it was Christmas. And neither me or my girlfriend wanted to cook, so that's what we did. Bear with me, y'all. I gotta clean up my nose again here. I'll be sniffling and snotting all day with you. Dang leaves. I hope I'm done with them leaves for the final time, though. Surely to goodness I am by now. I think let me show you here on the graph here. I ain't seen much on that screen, but we got something right there directly under us. So maybe, if that's a cat, maybe here in a minute or so when our baits pull up to him, maybe he'd be interested in such a thing. But you can see we're 36 feet deep, moving half a mile an hour, just working our way out this creek. And we're almost out here to the edge of the land right now. But this is not the end of the old creek. The water level came up a lot when they made the reservoir back long before I was born. So the old creek channel that flowed out of the back of this thing out to the Tennessee River, it dumped in way up here. And so we're going to go out toward the edge of what would have been the end of farmland, basically, before we hit the spot lock. I want to go out to the very end of it, what is now just kind of a deep flat. Would have been farmland back in the day, and it had a nice little drop off of it. We're going to go out there and set up and try to get fish that are coming in and out of here. And we'll give it a little time. The last couple days of suspend fishing has been slow. We've certainly got more action here in the first hour. I've been averaging, it seems like, about a bite an hour, which is honestly what I expect out here on Fort Loudon anyway. I mean, any time of year really. On Fort Loudon, I'm looking for about a fish an hour. But I do expect to get a little bit more action when I'm dragging baits, just because of the technique. I don't necessarily stick with fish an hour out here as much dragging. I'm still not going to we're not going to have a 30 fish day out here on Fort Loudon, folks. That's maybe once in a while, but that's an exceptional day. You're going to catch less fish out here, but I'm hoping we're going to bust a good quality fish in the few bites that we get. But I do expect more fish dragging than I do suspend fishing. However, if we can bust one suspending baits, it's going to be a lot more fun. And based on how the last couple sessions have gone, I think we got a chance at maybe hooking a whopper. So unless we really get on a better bite here with the dragging, I think we will go ahead and suspend baits when we get out here. Plus, even if we do, this fella here, I think, well, he's in the very back of this creek now. I can't tell if he's still throwing the net. I'll turn the camera around. He's way back there. He's back there where we were when we were netting shad. I can't tell if he's just still getting bait or if he's going to throw out some lines and fish his way out. I don't know. Either way, it don't matter. I don't really want to go back there and make another pass. And ideally what I'd do if we were on fish, well, we're about to catch one right here. Nope, he hit it. That's our whole bait too. See if he stays after it. We should be ahead of that fish we've seen on the screen by now. Typically what I do when I'm dragging, if I'm working a creek, I'm gonna make a pass in and a pass out. Because sometimes you'll find fish that are eating, and maybe it's coincidence, I don't know, but it's happened a lot where I'll catch fish when I'm moving one direction, but not catch them going the other. You can pull through the same area, pull through the same fish, but if the bait's moving one way, they eat it. If it's moving the other way, they don't. And so usually if I'm dragging baits, if I'm committed to dragging through a creek, I'm going to troll into it one way and troll out of it. And so if we were really on these fish, ideally we'd work our way all the way out to the entrance, turn around and go back. That's what we'd do. But with that fella back there, we're not, no matter what happens here, I don't think I'm going to go back there and infringe upon him. Plus, we got other creeks out here too. If we really wanted to go and drag some more creeks, we got like 6 options within a short run, like 3 on each side of the channel here. So we got other options. It's potential for all of them to have fish. All of them are going to have some bait. I knew this one here, the reason I come back here today is because I knew we'd have a better chance at getting some gizzard shad here. It does seem like some creeks will have, all of them will have some bait, but some of them have more gizzards, some of them will have more threadfin, some of them will have skipjack and some not, although skipjack's a Easter egg hunt out here for me right now. But you get my point, though. It seems like some creeks will hold more of certain types of fish than others. And I knew this one has gizzard shad. And we could still, we have a reasonable expectation of catching fish with the gizzard shad that I have in my cooler right now. We do. But it is at 3 days old. It is at the end of the time. Like when I leave here today, I'm going to dump that bait. I like shad. When I do use it, I like it to be as fresh as possible. I want it to be either like today where we catch it and we use it, or 24, 48 hours old. It just starts to get mushy beyond that. I just don't think it keeps as well as baits like skipjack or white bass, for instance. I think they last a little longer on ice. And I don't have these gizzard shad directly on ice. I have them in a bag packed in ice. So it's not like they're getting waterlogged and getting mushy, but they still just get a little mushy. They're a softer bait anyway. And if anything else, it's a confidence thing. The fresher my bait, the more confident I am. And in these winter months where I don't feel like I'm a particularly good fisherman during this time period anyway, anything I can do to boost my confidence is worthwhile. So coming out here and getting us some fresh bait today, totally the right move, at least for my mindset, if nothing else. Plus, if we have any left today, I'll just take it with me and we'll be ahead for the next trip, which I don't know that I'll get to fish tomorrow, because I think the rain may linger around tomorrow and knock me out. But maybe the following day we'll have a little bit of a head start. Fish. Oh. Well, he's still after it though, ain't he? That's another bite at least. He may have it now, folks. He may have it now. He does. Y'all, that's 3 fish here in a little over an hour. That's not, we're not setting the world on fire here, but for this body of water, normally I'm looking for that bite an hour, certainly a little bit more with dragging, but and trolling, covering water, but still, I'm feeling good about things today, folks. Oh, I saw that guy back. He's still throwing the net back there. I guess he's having a harder time catching bait as what we did. We just must have got lucky with that first throw there, second throw there. Oh, this fish right here. This is another blue. He's a smaller blue, but I want to get him up here and show you. I want to show you this fish. This thing right here, buddy, has been... Look at, not this side. Let me get this bait out. You gonna give me that bait back? Yeah, we'll switch that out anyway. Look at the other side of his back over here. Turn around this way, fish. Look how much mud is up his back, like all the way to the top of him here, folks. Like, these fish get down in that mud on bottom. When they hunker down and they go dormant and just inactive, weather, water conditions, whatever, like, they get down in it, buddy. Get on, fish. Let's take another one here. Take another gizzard shad head. We'll basically take a half of this one. He's a little bit smaller. I should have give him that bait, but maybe he'll still be hungry and he'll bite that other fella's line back there when he starts fishing. He must be having a hard time back there though, because he's still throwing that net. We may have just got lucky. Of course, in our situation here's an advantage, if you will, of using 2 rods like we're doing right now. Because of that, we don't need nearly as much bait. If a person is running planer boards and they're fishing with 8 rods, 10 rods, however the hell many they got, some of them more than that, you need a lot more bait to bait all them rods. We don't need that much, man. You give me 6 or 8 shad, hell, I'm good for the day, fishing how I do. So That's a benefit. That means we don't have to spend as much time catching bait, and we don't waste as much of it. So, there's pluses and minuses to everything. We're going to have less baits in the water, but the fact we don't need as much bait, it don't take as long to get it, that gives us more opportunities, more time to spend with lines in the water actively fishing for catfish. And depending on how we're fishing, like, I don't necessarily feel at a disadvantage fishing with less rods than a lot of other people do with 8 or 10 rods. Some situations, sure, it is a disadvantage. Like if we're pulling out of this creek today, I guarantee you, if we'd been pulling planer boards and could cover this whole creek, we would have probably caught some more fish by now. If we were out on a flat, same thing. But if I'm ledge fishing, I don't care if I'm fishing a tournament against guys with 8 or 10 rods, because I know my baits are going to be, I can put them precisely where I need them to be. And I've won numerous tournaments now. This past year, I won the Pickwick-Wilson tournament on our schedule against guys all running planer boards. I was running 2 rods. Year before that, Kerr Lake, everybody was pulling planer boards. I think I was the only person at Kerr Lake that wasn't running boards. And I won it with 2 rods. So if you know where to put your baits, if you can put your baits where the fish are going to be, then you don't need a lot of lines out. I mean, if you're where you need to be, when you need to be there, hell, you ain't going to be able to have 8 rods out because you can be reeling in so many fish. But another side perk of that, again, is just less rods you fish with, the less bait you need. And when bait is tough to get, like I don't know if it is today or not, if I get my words out, because we only threw a handful of times and got what we needed. But days where the bait is difficult to get, not needing as much of it can be a big benefit. Because there's a lot of times you go out, if bait's tough, you can spend all day trying to catch it. And this guy back here, he had a whole rod rack. I didn't count how many rods he had, but he had a lot of rods. Looked like dragon rigs tied on. He had a lot of them out on the back of his boat, so he's probably going to need way more bait than we do. I've got the old bait in my cooler. He's welcome to, but I'd rather give it to him when I'm done here today, in just in case we have to end up tapping into that. But I am gonna throw it out. Look right here. Oh, he dropped it. I just flipped the bail over on that and started actually pulling it, and something nipped it. We're 40 feet deep now. The other day, if memory serves me, I think it was like 41, 42 feet deep. Out here where we were at, it changes because the water level dropping and stuff. Tough to know on any given day what kind of depth you're going to be at, just because of the water level fluctuations. If we get some rain, at least the amount they say that we could get this afternoon and evening and stuff, it may raise it up a little bit, and then TVA will run it through the dams and it'll fall back down. So it fluctuates a lot this time of year. In the summer months, water level's stable. Like they usually lower our water level here about mid-November. They start lowering it, and then it's usually done. They're done lowering it usually by early December. And then they'll keep it down through, I think it's like early May. They raise everything back up. So about 6 months, 5-6 months out of the year, our water level's kind of inconsistent, and then the warm months, it's back up where you know where it's going to be every day. And that's kind of, I mean, for me, I like the consistency. I don't care if the water's up or the water's down. I just don't want it fluctuating up and down all over the place. Like, I just want it to just be. Whatever it is, just be. I can work with it up or I can work with it down. It's the fluctuation, the rising water, the falling water, that will mess up what you got going on. Like, that'll change a pattern quick if you're on one. Yeah, we're going to just work our way out here. We're coming across now on the map. I'll show you. You can see on the graph here, there was an old roadbed, an old submerged bridge, allegedly here. I have looked a lot, both with regular graph and live scope. I see no remnants of any old bridge, but it was allegedly there back in the day. We're going to work our way out here, though. You can see that X, that's a spot where we were at there last time. Just kind of off this, up here beside us on the left, makes a point that comes out where the edge of the old farmland would be. There's one on this other side too. You can fish either one of them, it don't matter. We're just going to keep working our way out here to this one. And then you've got a deeper flat that the old creek channel, and that's kind of the dotted line here would be the old channel, and it would run on out till you get out there to what would have been the original Tennessee riverbed, where it's nowadays, even with their water level down, 70 plus feet deep. We're not going to go out that far, but we are going to go out here off kind of the edge of the contour, off the end of this point, and set up here, kind of at the, the edge of this creek, and see if we can get some fish working in there. I just want to suspend some baits and see what we can get. Maybe it'll work out, maybe it won't. Hell, I mean, it didn't take too terribly long to work our way out of here. We're at 81 minutes, 82 minutes, so that's just under an hour and a half, trolling a half a mile an hour. I'm terrible at judging distances, but I guess this creek probably a half a mile long to get from here to the back of it. I'd say that's probably somewhere around that. That would make sense, and plus the time we had throwing the net. So, half a mile. We trolled a half a mile out of this creek. We got 3 fish. Let's just set up out here for a little while and see what happens. And here's what we'll do. Let's give it like an hour suspending baits out here. And then let's reevaluate. If we've caught something, especially if we've got big fish, we'll keep doing it. If we haven't, maybe we'll take off trolling again and dragging baits. And surely by an hour, this guy, if he ain't got bait, if that guy's just back there getting bait, if he ain't caught it in an hour, surely he'll probably be gone by then. Or we could go hit one of these other creeks maybe and drag it. But I am seeing some stuff here as we work our way out. That's a little marks right there. We got something on this rod right here. Did you see that? Something tugged on it. Let it go. He's back. He gave it a tug. He's tugging it again. He's going to get it one of these times. He's going to wish he hadn't. He's going to feel the steel to the jaw. Like that guy on James Bond with the metal mouth, or trap jaw from He-Man. What I'm going to do, though, and once we get out here and start suspending baits, we're going to leave these rods out, these dragging rods. Now, I am going to reel them up and drop them back down close to us. I don't want them really far behind us. We'll have everything wrapped up and we get spun around reeling in a fish, but we're going to use it. I'm not going to retie everything. We're going to use what we got. My other 2 rods here behind us, those are already rigged up for suspend fishing. So we'll move these 2 rods to the back, put our suspend fishing rods up front, and it'll be 2 different presentations down there right below us. Of course, we'll mix up our baits. I'm gonna have the live shad, a whole dead shad, 2 pieces of cut bait. We're gonna mix it up. But we'll give these fish some options. I am encouraged though, the fact we've got 3 bites pulling out of this creek. None of them have been monsters, but it's encouraging nonetheless. It tells me some fish are actively feeding, especially the fact that all 3 of those fish had mud up their backs and sides. Like they had been down in that mud recently. So I'm hoping fish are getting active, turning on, and maybe we're going to have a really productive day. Right here's a couple marks right there. You see them just off the bottom there? Now, we don't know what they are, but I would assume probably cats. I'm going to turn us a little bit here too, get us moving toward this area we're going to spot lock on, kind of at the end of this point over here. Every day, I've said it a bunch of times, every day is a puzzle you got to figure out, and most days I come out, I'm pretty rigid. Like if I'm fishing here at home, I don't live too far away from here. I got a long run today on the water. Like if we get monsooned on today, it's going to be a long run back, because I probably got, from out here where we're at, probably 30 plus minutes to get back to the car. But to get from the ramp to my house is not very far at all. But also when I'm fishing places close to home, I'm oftentimes pretty rigid. Like I leave my house with a plan, and that's what I'm going to do, ride or die with it, man. Like I'm going to either have success or I'm not. If I'm on the road, if I'm traveling somewhere, then I'm going to be a lot more flexible with what I'm doing. If what I'm doing is not working, I'm going to be quicker to pull the plug on it and go to something else. But usually I leave my house with an idea of what I want to do, and I'm going to ride it out. And today was kind of one of them things where I knew leaving the house we were going to do a combination of stuff and then just let the fish tell us what we ended up doing. But I like suspend fishing so much, it's hard for me to get away from it no matter what. Even though we've caught some fish. If we'd caught a monster back in here, dragging baits, or if we was just one fish after another, just getting a bunch of bites, I'd be more inclined to keep doing it, whether this creek or whether or not we went into some of the others. But right now, I want to just give it an hour at least. Suspend some baits here and see what happens. If them fish, and I assume, no way of knowing for sure exactly where they're dug down into. I mean, they're obviously in the mud, so I would assume it's like a mud flat. And I would assume that it's deep, because the deepest water is going to be the most stable this time of year. All that, the atmospheric changes, the barometric pressure changes, that's going to happen in the first 15 feet of the water column, according to other people's research that I've read. I don't even know what kind of education you'd have to know that, but regardless, no matter what, I don't have it. But other things that I've read, people say the atmospheric pressure changes is felt in the upper part of the water column, top 15 feet. You get down below that, it's a lot more stable environment for these fish. So when these catfish, when they hunker down, I would assume it's deeper that they do it, just because if they're hunkering down, it's because they're not liking what's going on in their environment, right? So they're going to try to find that stability. And I would assume it'd be a mud flat. They obviously couldn't do that on a rocky bottom. They're going to need mud to get down into. So I would bet it would be out here kind of on this deeper flat somewhere that they're going to be bedded down on. And if they're coming out of that mud and working up into this creek or others to feed in, well, we're going to be in prime position to catch them on their way in today. Or out if they're back in there already and coming out. My friend Dewey, which I need to reach out to him. I didn't even send him a Christmas message. I'm a terrible friend. I'm awful. But Dewey, he's the one that put me on using the flies. And hell, he's forgot more about fishing than I'll ever know. But one of the conversations I had with him, one of the things that he said, and he used to do this and had success with it, is he would get out here when these fish, like those there, mudded down in the mud. And he made him some jig heads, heavy jig heads. And he put a spike, like I guess part of a hook or something been cut off, molded it into the head so that and he'd get out there and jig for him. And when he would drop that jig down, the lead head, of course, would hit the mud, and that spike on there would stick it, right? It'd stick down in there. And so when he would come across them fish that are down, kind of like down in the mud a little bit, and he'd pop them on the head and stick them, literally stick them with that spike, it'd piss them off. And you get a reaction strike, and he'd be able to catch them like that. Now, I haven't tried that. He had talked about giving me some of them jig heads he had, and I'm a terrible friend. I'm just awful. I don't follow up. I'm like that with everybody. I get off in my own little world, and then I'm so antisocial. I'm a terrible friend. But nevertheless, that's something he would do. He'd get out there and find when he found them fish, like they'd be together, and just sit there and keep working that area and stick them fish, and boom, get some bites. That would be interesting to do. That would be fun. Like if you could find them down in the mud like that, especially if you got like on a whole school of them and could sit there and keep working that area, like that would be fun. Yeah, I'm seeing some more fish out here though. You can see the line there. There's something just off the bottom right there. I think it's the second one. That looks like maybe some bait right up here, about the 20-foot mark. Rod right there got a little nip. We're gonna work our way a little bit closer over here. I'm gonna come off there's some bait splashing right there. I believe them's thread fins right there. I'm gonna work us over here just a little bit to the left, off to the edge of this point. And we're gonna hit spot lock. I'll reel in these other lines, drop them back down. We'll bait up our suspend rigs right quick. Put the live bait on. And then we'll just sit here an hour and see what happens. If we get bit, we stay with it. If not, we may make a decision to go possibly get back to dragging again. We'll see. I mean, this fellow that's back there, maybe he'll talk to us on the way out and tell us. Of course, I guess he's back there still trying to get bait. I don't know. I see him. I see his boat back there along the shoreline, so I don't know if he's baited up for catfish yet or not, or if he's just still throwing the net. But maybe we'll get a report from him on the way out. All right, our depth's starting to come up a little bit here now, so I'm gonna go ahead and spot lock. We were 44, now we're up to 43.5, and you can kind of see the incline there as we're starting to come up on this point. And I want to be just on that bottom edge, right before it really starts to come up at a steep angle. And we can see there's several fish here on the edge of that. Now we could certainly come on out farther, it don't matter, but anywhere along this edge as fish work around through here, either off this deeper flat and in here, or out of the channel and up in here, anywhere in through here is fine. So let's do this. Let's reel these in. We're just gonna, both these baits on the dragging rig, we're just gonna lower back down. We just, oh heck. When I turned us there to come over here, I snagged our other line. It's okay, it don't matter. But both these baits here still should be pretty good. We're just gonna go ahead and reuse them, drop them down behind us. Yeah. And that float will keep those baits up off the bottom. So I'm gonna have them dragon sinkers on the bottom. And as the kayak shifts around, either from wind or from any boats that may go by, or us fighting a fish and getting spun around in the kayak, those dragon sinkers will stir up the mud, and yet our hook will still be off the bottom, keep it from getting snagged. Same thing with this one. Then we'll bust out our suspended rods. I'm going to adjust these rod holders so that they're more at a kind of a forward angle, if you will. That way we can try to hopefully keep things from getting tangled up. You're playing with fire. Anytime you fish with multiple rods in a kayak, you're begging for it. And especially if you do 4 rods suspending in a kayak with everything under you, you're begging for it. So we may end up with a tangle. It oftentimes happens, but not the end of the world. Just going to adjust those forward. Now let's get our, sorry for all the rustling here, y'all. My rain jackets makes a lot of noise, and with that microphone on my life jacket, it is probably annoying the crap out of you, but I would rather have my rain jacket on and ready to go than to have to try to rush to get it off if the rain hits. You know what I mean? You know what I mean, Vern? As Ernest P. Worrell used to say. Let's put another head bait on over here. My 2 big fish on recent trips, one of them was the live shad, and one of them was a gizzard shad head. So we will put a gizzard shad head on here, and we will put the live shad on. I need to change out that water too, but I ain't worried about it. Hopefully we drop a live shad down, he'll get eat very quickly, and we can just take the other one out and put him on, and then he won't have to worry about swimming around in nasty water. And these suspend rigs here, Lord, regular viewers have heard me say it a million times, but if you're new to the channel, and some of yous are, we add a lot of new people all the time that just seen me get my line all tangled up every which way. Okay. My suspend rigs here, we've got an egg sinker, 40-pound monofilament, same as the Dragon setup, but egg sinker atop a regular swivel, ball bearing swivel, 80-pound monofilament down to a 10-aught size circle hook, and then on the tag end below that a few inches we got a Catfish Sumo bait stalker fly. So we'll have a big bait, small bait presentation all in the same one. Now, one of the things I have gotten in the habit of doing is when I'm running live baits is cutting this stinger fly off, because oftentimes fish will hit that fly and then fling your bait off on the way up. I'm not going to do that today because we got an extra live bait here and I'm running low on stinger fly rigs. I still got to tie some. we get on some bad weather here again, the next really bad weather day that I get knocked out of either fishing or doing anything outside around my house, I want to tie me some rigs. Okay. There's our sinker on bottom. Reel down just a little bit, raise it up. So now our live bait is down there just off the bottom, a couple feet. Up off the bottom there. Now we're set up here, folks. We're going to just, let me see the time here where we're at. Yeah, 100 minutes in. Just over an hour and a half. So let's do it. Let's give it an hour here and see what happens. I'm optimistic, man. I think this has potential of going well. Fix that. Hopefully that won't rub the microphone as much and drive you insane. Get my hood back on. I'll tell you that wind out here. It's a warmer day, but the wind blowing across the water, even a light breeze, makes it feel so much colder. Being a cloudy day makes it feel so much colder. If it was sunny and no wind, it would feel significantly warmer, even at the same temperature. Let me show you this right quick here. See that red line? That's a fish coming up and checking out our baits. Them solid lines there, that's the graph picking up on some of our baits down there below us. But that little red one that's come up at an angle, that was a fish coming up to take a look. He come up and took a little gander and see what we had going on here, see what we was offering. If he knows what's good for him, he'll go ahead and take a bite of it. Let me check my phone here again too. I'm still waiting on this woman to message me back about the... Okay. By gosh, she has responded here, folks. All right. Good. So it looks like I'm going to be... I'll wait till we're done today to message her back, but... Well, I probably should message her back now. I don't want her renting that... I don't want her renting it out to somebody else. Bear with me a second here, folks. We're conducting business right here on the water in a raw and uncut, unedited video. Okay. Perfect. Well, looks like I'm going back to the Florida Keys, y'all. I'm going to go down there with Brandon, Crystal River, weather permitting, fish 2 or 3 days with him, then go on down to the Keys. Let me just respond back to her. She wants my name and all. They got to have all that information there at the resort. I know this is tantalizing TV or viewing time for you as I respond to a daggone text on camera, but this is important stuff here, folks, because we're working out a vacation very, very last minute. My girlfriend, she is not going to be able to go for the whole trip, but I think what she's going to be able to do is go for part of the trip. She'll fly in midweek. I'll go pick her up, and then I'll drop her back off at the airport on my way back home that following Saturday. Let me tell her I'm just going to drop the check. She wants a check. The last person that I rented from wanted a check. What is it with these old people and checks, man? Like, it's 2024, 2025, hell far. Like, Venmo, Cash App, PayPal. Tell her I'll drop a check off this afternoon. All right, done with that, folks. Thanks for bearing with me through that. You and me, you like my travel agents. We're out here booking a vacation together, going back to the Keys. Hopefully the wind will be cooperative while we're there. It's a gamble down there in the Keys this time of year in the winter months. December, January, February, March. The wind, it's warm down there. Like it's warm and it's beautiful, but it's oftentimes very windy, and kayaks don't mix. So it's possible I may lose some time down there because of the wind. But it's paradise, man. I love it down there. I had so much fun when I went down there Thanksgiving week, and I got several videos from the trip, and they all got watched. I know saltwater fishing's kind of off-brand for what many of you tune into. Most of you find my channel from catfishing, what we're doing today. But the saltwater video's done really well. It's certainly done well enough for me to be able to justify going back. And so I want to go back anyway because I love it down there. And so here we go, man. It's about to happen. We're going back. I'm excited about it, folks. Everything, it's official here. We're doing this. Love it. Get me some more shark leaders tied up. We're going to try the heavy mono instead of the wire, although I'm going to have some wire with me. But we'll try that. I know we can get bait. I know my way around down there pretty good now. My friend Elias V Fishing, he's been down there. He was down there, I think, the entire month of December. And I think he's going to be down there the entire month of February, if I'm not mistaken. But he had told me he found a place, and I guess it would be in the Everglades, technically. I think he said it was around Key Largo, but really he found some really good peacock bass fishing. And so maybe if we have a real windy day that's going to prevent us from getting out in the ocean, we can go and fish, get back up there in the Everglades and fish for some peacocks and hide from the wind a little bit. So we might go do that. And I may possibly take another shot at Lake Ida or somewhere else in the Everglades on my way back out. Like the following week, I think the 18th or 19th, whenever it is, I'll have to drop my girlfriend back off at the airport. I'm going to be right there by it. I could possibly just hit Lake Ida or maybe hit somewhere else in the Everglades. I do want to spend some time down there in the Everglades shark fishing too. It's on my to-do list, and we may do that this trip at some point. I want to hit that Flamingo area. I've heard a lot of things about the Flamingo area of the Everglades. Flamingo National Park or something like that, I think it's called. There's apparently a lot of sharks in that area. Apparently a lot of tarpon in that area too, what I've been told. But there's so much I want to do and so much I want to explore down there. I'm excited about it. It's not that I don't get excited about coming out here and catfishing. I love doing this. But when it comes to catfishing, like, I've done this a lot. Even if I go somewhere new catfishing, like, I've caught a gazillion catfish in my life. It's fun, but there's not the same level of excitement as there is when you go somewhere new and you're also fishing for something new, like that you've never potentially caught before. And when you're down there in the ocean, man, you throw out a live bait or a cut bait, you literally have no idea what's going to bite it. I mean, if I drop a hunk of cut bait down here on the end of this point today, I know if we get bit, we're catching a blue cat, a flathead, or possibly a striped bass, which I haven't lucked into a striper now. And gosh, I didn't catch any this past year. Any accidental bycatches. I mean, like I don't think I had a single one this past year. And I'm not sure I had one last year. So it's possible, but not likely, right? So we kind of know one of 3 species that we're going to hook into dropping a hunk of cut bait down where we're at today. But you get out there in the ocean and you do the same thing, man, it could be a shark, it could be barracuda, it could be Goliath grouper, it could be a damn stingray, it could be any number of fish. I mean, even fishing for sharks with wire leader. Hell, I caught a big mangrove, or not a mangrove snapper, a mutton snapper a few years ago. We got a big barracuda on it. I mean, that's with the big wire leader and stuff. So, like, you just never know down there. It's just a different level of excitement. And here's the other part, y'all. It's warm and beautiful there while it's cold and miserable here. Like, this is the time to go down there. Now, I've been told, one of my regular viewers, Fishing Key Largo, he lives down there, and he has told me that them exotic species like peacock bass, you're going to do better in the summer months when it's real hot, because that's when they're really active and thriving. They don't do well in the cold. And even though it ain't cold in South Florida, it's cooler. Like, it's on the bottom end of the temperature that they can survive in. So they're not as active oftentimes in the winter. And he's told me to come down there in summer months and really tear them things up. And I'd like to, but it's going down there in the winter months, it's sunny and 75. It's perfect. You go down there in the summer months, you can fish about 2 hours, and then you're going to be in a sweat box because it's so miserable hot, right? So now's the time of year. Now's the time of year that I really want to go down there. But I hopefully will get down there in the summer months at some point just to try the exotics. Speaking of, I do have some sad news here, folks. I'd already told my channel members this. I just learned of this a couple days ago, unfortunately. One of my regular viewers, he was a channel member, and many of you all may have interacted with him in the comment box, because I know a lot of you do talk with each other in the comment box. And this particular fella, Andy Bass was his name, he commented on every video. Like, he was a very loyal viewer. He watched every minute of every episode I put out. And big fan of this channel, man. He had, I've seen pictures of the guy with Kayak Catfish shirt, Kayak Catfish toboggan on. Like, I mean, he was very, very loyal viewer. For whatever reason, he took a liking to me. And he enjoyed these videos a lot. I don't know what it was about me that he connected with. Unfortunately, I never got to meet him in real life. But for some reason, he really liked me and enjoyed the videos. And I was always grateful to have him because, again, he was somebody I could count on to watch every time. And sometimes he'd leave 10 comments on a video. But he unfortunately passed away. His wife messaged Daniel at Catfish Sumo. She messaged him on Christmas and said that he had passed away the previous week there. And you know, sad news. I knew he had some health problems. He had left comments on my channel a few times saying he'd been in the hospital recently, or he was watching from the hospital, and would talk about what problems he had going on at the time. And so I knew he had been having health problems, and I had noticed my last few videos he hadn't commented, which was very unlike him. I mean, he would be one of the first people to click on the video when it posted, and was one of the first to comment, and would continue to comment throughout the video as he watched. And so I was worried something had happened, and sure enough, he passed away. So I thought I would pass on that information to you all, the general audience, because I know some of you all interact with each other in the comment box. And sad news. You know, I don't know. I never know what to say in these situations. I never know what's appropriate. It's on my to-do list this evening to stop by the store and get a card for his wife. Daniel had his contact information because of him buying merchandise there from Catfish Sumo, my Kayak Catfish Gear and stuff. So I'm going to send his wife a card, just condolences. I mean, I feel like I never met him in person, but I've interacted with him so much through the comment box. I kind of feel like I knew him in a way, like when you chat with somebody as much as we did for so long, I feel like I knew the guy. And so I'm going to send his wife I don't know what you do. The funeral's obviously, we didn't learn of his passing until a week later, so I'm sure the funeral had already taken place, and so too late to send flowers for that or anything, but I'm just going to, send a card and a message, and, I don't know what you do. There's nothing can be said or done that's going to make things better, but, he's been so good to me from watching and supporting me through the channel membership and stuff. I feel like I ought to do something. So I'm going to stop at the store and get a card for her and try to reach out in some fashion. Just let her know that I appreciate all that he did for me. But anyway, that's sad news, man, and I hate it for her and her family, because losing someone you love is terrible anytime, but especially right there at the holidays, man. Just bad timing. We're all, and I'm not going to get all morbid and doom and gloom on here, because I am notorious for doing that. It happens all the time, and people tell me, Justin, quit being so negative and so fixated on death. Enjoy your life while you're living. And I certainly try to. Well, we got a fish right here. We got something working here. Maybe we'll catch one. Maybe we'll catch one for old Andy Bass right here. My gosh. Reel us one in. I can't remember, this was our head bait. We had our head bait on this one and the live bait on the other front. Oh, he let it go. Got us all wrapped up in our leader there. Or maybe our leader was all wrapped up and that's why we lost the fish, who knows. They wasn't very big. Well, hell, I was going to dedicate that fish right there to Andy Bass, but I'm sorry, Andy, I botched the damn thing. I'm sure Andy'd understand. He's watched my videos enough to know that I find ways to lose fish all the time. But yeah, I don't want to get all doom and gloom, folks. I'm notorious for doing that, and I try to just... I don't want to dwell on death, but I try to think about it often enough that it keeps me grounded, keeps me appreciative of what I have and what I've accomplished and the good things going in my life. When you think about the end, and you think about, we all on our way out. From the day we're born, we start to die. As morbid, here I'm getting morbid again. So in the times where things are going good, like my life right now is pretty good. I've had a really good year. I'm healthy. My family's healthy. It's been a good year, and so you don't want to think about the negative of what's coming on down the line for yourself, but at the same time too, keeping yourself grounded by thinking about that, I almost think it makes you more appreciative it does me anyway, more appreciative for what I currently have, because I know I'm not always going to have it, whether it's my health or time or freedom or whatever it is. I'm not always going to have that. And so you can get lost in the day-to-day, just the normal grind of life, things going on, news events, sports, etc., and lose sight of how good you oftentimes have it. Which I know, and listen, I know not all of yous out there are going through good times. You're certainly not. But a life ebbs and flows for everybody. There's peaks and valleys. None of us gets through life unscathed. We're all going to have some good times. We're all going to have some bad times. And right now, I'm fortunate to kind of be going through a peak in life. I'm going through a good stretch. And this fish right here ain't. He's on the dragon rod back here behind us. Oh, he's pulling too, buddy. He's wanting to head up there toward that front line. You think maybe we'll get Andy a fish right here now? I guarantee you, if Andy was watching right now, he'd be rooting for it. It's nice as a YouTuber to have people like Andy. People that root for you, people that want you to do well, people like him that's always positive when they interact with you in the comment box and stuff. I'm fortunate I've got several people like that on this channel, and I'm thankful for all of you. Let's see if we can get a look at this thing. Yeah, that's another, larger dink, smaller fun size. He's covered in mud too, folks. This one here's covered in mud up his back, down to his tail. He's got it all over this fish here, he needs to wash his face. Come here, fish. Let's land you one time. Eating that old shad head. Come up here. Come up here, you old thing. Come up here now. Act like somebody. You want to flop. Let me get my pliers. Get that thing out. There we go. We'll take a look at that head in a minute. We may end up switching it out. Yeah, look at that thing, man. He's got the mud right there on the side of his face, up his back. Yeah. Fish, we're going to dedicate you to Andy Bass. Big time supporter of my channel. And me personally, Fish. Get on out of here. There he goes. All right, folks. Well, let's take a look at this thing, see what we're going to do with it. I think we'll switch it out. I think we shall. We'll keep it. We may end up reusing it or something. We could catch another fish on it probably, but we've got another one. We may actually have. We got this one and one more that we ain't cut into yet, plus that other live one there. See, I told you, you use minimal rods. I mean, yeah, we did double our rods to 4 from 2, but you don't use as much bait. And so we're going to be sprucing it up here a little bit. Send this thing back down. I see that fella back there that was back there in that creek. I think he's fishing now. Looks like I see planer boards there behind him. Yeah, I see a green one on one side and an orange one on the other. So he's pulling planer boards out of that creek now. I guess he got him some bait and is fishing his way out. Well, hopefully he'll go off to the right. I'm not going to move. Maybe he'll get within close enough distance that he can holler over here. I don't want to holler back because I'll be yelling in your ears here with the microphone, but it'll be interesting to know if he catches any in there. He's definitely going to have a better chance than what we did with him pulling boards and being able to cover such a wider spread. I'd be curious to know if he'd tell us too about the bait, if he was able to get some back there and what depth he ended up getting on the gizzards at. We'll keep an eye on radar. In fact, I'm gonna pull it up right now and just see where the rain's at. If we can fish a few hours and still have a chance for me to run back in this creek, throw the net some more, and then get back the car before getting drenched, I may do that. Okay, here we are. So we're here. The rain's there. Still west of us right now. We're good right now. Let's fast forward a little bit here. Yeah, still showing about 330, 340 there. The rain's gonna start here. I'm gonna be on the edge of it, looks like. Looks like most of the rain's gonna be north and west of me. I guess there's more coming tonight. I guess that through there is probably what we're gonna get hit with later this evening. As it moves north and east, this, I guess, will eventually work its way up to us this evening, but I think we're going to be good. It's 12:54 right now, so yeah. I'll fish till around 3. I'll fish till around 3, look at radar. If it's still looking the same, I'll make my run back and get out before we get drenched. If I got a little time, then I'll pull up and go throw the net some more. Maybe catch some more bait before the next trip, possibly. I think that's going to be the plan. It'll give us a good session. This camera battery only lasts about 4 hours anyway, and most of my trips about 4 hours, 5 hours anyhow. Who would have ever thought, y'all? This is the craziest damn thing I've ever seen. So I started doing these unedited videos, and initially I started with the Ultralight, and I'd do an hour, and those were a hit, and so I went to 2 hours. And those were a hit. And then I thought, well, let me try a 3-hour one. Nobody's going to watch, but let me just try it. I'm fishing anyway. Well, I'll be damned if that wasn't a hit too, as a home run. So then I thought, well, most of my trips are 4 or 5 hours. Let me just film for 4 or 5 hours and see if that'll work. Home run, man. All of these unedited videos have done so well for me. Well, I got to a point where my camera battery, I've got a battery pack on this camera, and between the battery inside the camera and the battery pack, I get about 4 hours of runtime filming in 4K. And so even if I'm going to fish 4.5, 5 hours, we'll go ahead and end the trip whenever the battery dies, right? And so most of my videos are around 4 hours long. Well, these videos have been doing so well, everybody's copying me now. All these other local YouTubers and stuff, they're wanting to, I guess, try to ride the coattails, whatever. And so instead of just doing their own thing, they've tried to copy the title right down to the spelling and where the hyphen is at in there. And they're copying the time that I normally film, which again, I film as long as I do because that's my battery. Who would have ever thought that my battery pack would start a trend on YouTube? mean, I would have never have thought it in a million years. My battery dying at 4 hours would start all these people doing 4-hour videos. It's crazy, man. I just fish, again, most of my trips are 4 or 5 hours, and sometimes I don't always have 4 or 5 hours worth of stuff to talk about. Since this is a one-sided conversation, I can't ever get y'all to talk back here. But I would have never in a million years thought, first off, I never thought anybody would watch me fish for 4 hours. But then the fact that people would start doing 4-hour videos just because I do them, because my damn battery, it's crazy, man. What a world we live in. What a world, man. Oh, GoPro Volta battery pack. Changing YouTube. I use a GoPro battery pack on a DJI camera. That's my setup, y'all. This GoPro battery pack fits perfectly down in my life jacket. And so I can wedge it down in there, and we got chest cam. Unless the day comes I snag it as I'm throwing a cast net and send it flying. I'm very fearful of that, but the more I do it, the more I'm getting comfortable with it. Thus far, we've not had any even close calls with it. It's just, I think, been my paranoia in my own mind. But yeah, this setup here, it works for what I needed to do. The GoPro, I still have a GoPro, but I rarely use it because it overheats if you try to use it for a long period of time. Like, it probably wouldn't be a problem today because of the temperature, the air temperature, but if it's summertime and it's 80 degrees and you try to run that GoPro for multiple hours, hell, within an hour it's going to overheat. DJI doesn't, so the DJI video quality is not as good as GoPro, but you don't overheat, so it's having the best video quality from GoPro isn't worth a flip if the camera won't stay running. I keep hoping they'll change it, but every year they come out with a new camera with the same problems. GoPro's stock, last I looked, they're a publicly traded company, but their stock's like $1 and change. They've been in the dump for a long time. So I don't know what's going to happen with them. I don't know if they can continue operating like that. If they need more money at some point, they're going to have a hard time raising it with that stock price. So I think GoPro probably is one of those companies in the next year, 2 or 3 that's probably going to get bought out, maybe by DJI or a Sony or some other big camera or tech company. I could see them doing that. And honestly, as a consumer, as somebody who uses these cameras, I hope they do, because I'm hoping whoever buys them can fix the problems, keep the GoPro video quality, and fix the overheating issue and the glitches. That would be the best case scenario. That guy over there, he's still making his way along. I hope we get to talk to this guy over here again. Normally I don't want to talk to people on the water, but I'm just curious of how he's done in that creek. We got 3 fish back there, just with our 2 rods. I'm just curious with the more rods that he has, how well he has done back there. I'm nosy like that. I really want to know if he was able to catch some bait, or if he's just using, if he couldn't catch any, he's just using maybe something he had brought with him or what. Because he was back there throwing the net a long time. One thing that will be easier about throwing the net in my Hobie Lynx kayak with the... so I told you about me yesterday rigging up the new experimental rod holder situation that I'm going to put on it. It will be in front of the pedal drive. So it's going to be a little bit further reach when I go to lean. Like these rods here, they're perfect distance. They're right here. They're in front of me, but they're an arm's length away. And when that rod's out of the holder, I've got enough space to bring a big fish over the side right here, right? This is ideal. The lynx, I'm not able to do that, so I've had to put it in front of the pedal drive, which means I'm going to have to lean farther forward for it. But the positive to that is when I'm throwing the cast net, there's going to be nothing here in this area on the lynx for the net to get caught on as I'm bringing it in. Well, here today even, when I threw the net there earlier, you bring the net up, it gets hung on the rod holder or the bolts connecting the bases there. Like there's just stuff for it to snag on, and we won't have that issue once we go with the new setup on the lynx, if it works out. We will see. But I will say, that kayak is pretty easy to throw the net off of. Even though it's smaller in size, it's a lot smaller, a lot lighter weight than this, it's pretty stable for what it is. I'm not going to be doing cartwheels out there on it, but it's pretty stable. I've not had any issues where I've even come close to turning that thing over, flipping it, falling out of it. Even out there in the ocean. Of course, I haven't. One of the things I want to do is hook into a big catfish in that thing. I think it's going to be a blast when it happens, and it will happen. We will do it. Just a matter of time. But I did hook one recently in that thing, and boy, the way it spun us around, like it was a good time. But it's not going to be an issue landing big fish in that thing because it sets so low to the water. I don't even have to lift them up very far. I just get their head up onto the side of the kayak and just slide them in. Like it's going to be real easy as far as that goes. I saw a video the other day, and I can't remember who posted it. There's a little clip I saw. Anyway, this guy, he had caught I can't remember if it was a snook or a redfish. He had caught some fish, saltwater fish. And he had it up the side of the kayak, and he was about to bring it in at a shark. And it wasn't even that big of a shark, but I mean, it was, 4 foot or so. Come up and just snatched that thing right there at the side of the kayak, man. Tore that fish apart. And that's exciting to watch on video. That certainly happens all the time out there fishing in the ocean. But from a Hobie Lynx platform, it's a little concerning because the lynx sets so low to the water surface. If a shark comes up and either, bolts right toward a fish that you're reeling in or just snatches it and is thrashing around right there at the side, like it could end up in the floor of that Hobie Lynx. And it's a little concerning. It's a little nerve-wracking. I'm pretty comfortable after spending that last Florida vacation down there in the Lynx, like I was pretty comfortable in it by the time I left, as far as, just being out there in the waves in the ocean and fishing from it and fighting big fish from it. Like I was comfortable from that standpoint, but just knowing at any given time something that's way bigger than you are, way bigger than the kayak, could end up in the floor of that thing, it's a little nerve-wracking, folks. It'll make your butthole pucker a little bit. Get the old sphincter a little tighter there, just thinking about it out there. I definitely would not. And I don't fish much at night anymore anyway. Since I I used to fish at night all the time. But back in those days, I was working night shift a lot. So on my off days, I would just keep kind of the same sleep schedule. And so I'd fish at night. But as time went on, and I'm doing YouTube as a job now, as crazy as that sounds, the last few years, and I'm sleeping normal, I don't ever go out at night anymore. And the night videos perform terribly. They just don't get watched. They don't get clicked on, and when people do click on them, the watch time's terrible, and it's not worth doing. At least from a content perspective. Fishing at night's fun, certainly, and very productive, but from just content perspective, not worthwhile. But I'll tell you this, man. I'll fish out here, catfishing, Tennessee River, other freshwater places. Like, I'll fish out at night. No worries whatsoever. I actually think you're safer fishing at night in a kayak than you are in the daytime because, let's say, for instance, out here, yes, this is a big body of water. Boats run up and down through here at night and stuff. Not really, though. I mean, in the spring and summer, you will get some traffic at night, but barge traffic certainly. But most of the bass tournaments are over by 10 o'clock, maybe midnight on a weekend. And then after that, you're probably going to be the only person on the water. But even if you do have a boat coming, you keep a light on your kayak, man, and you're visible. Like, they can see that light, especially if you got like a big filming light or something like I had to have for this YouTube crap. Like, you could see me from outer space, man. I was so lit up. Whereas if you're fishing during the daytime hours, especially if you're around like dawn or dusk, those low light periods where maybe boats running down the river 70 miles an hour are looking into the sun and you're kind of in their way, that's when it can kind of get a little bit more dangerous fishing out of a kayak. So I always felt safer fishing at night just because I knew I was going to be more visible. But with all of that said, you couldn't pay me to go out and fish in a kayak at night in the ocean. I would be terrified. I mean, you get some big 15, 20 foot long hammerhead down there in the Keys, and hell, if that thing just comes up to investigate you, first off, you're never going to see it coming. But if he just comes up and just bumps you just to see what are you, not trying to eat you, not trying to attack you, just investigating, trying to figure out what are you, is your kayak, is it food? What is it? Just that massive of a fish bumping you could knock you overboard and in the water. And, of course, that could certainly happen during the daytime just as easy as it could at night. But at least during the daytime in that clear water, you got better chance of seeing it coming. You can at least hopefully see where it's at if you do end up in the water. Whereas at nighttime, I'd be terrified the whole time, man. You couldn't pay me to go out in the ocean at night, in a kayak anyway. Maybe in a boat, but not in a kayak. There's no way. Absolutely no way. We did go down, when we were down there Thanksgiving week, me and my girlfriend, that resort we stay at, it has a dock. And that resort, it's like 20 individual 2-bedroom, 2-bath units down through there, right? And there's one community dock. And it's a big, long, like, T-shaped dock, all these boat tie-offs and stuff. And so you can go down there, and there's places to sit and places to fish off of and all that. And so we would go down there every night and just look around. And I fished off the dock a couple nights. I didn't do any good. But I did attempt to catch some sharks there at night. But this past year we didn't really see much. I mean, just normal fish, but nothing crazy. But in years past I've been down there. I mean, You see sharks coming in there, swimming into the light, dolphins. We've seen a crocodile down there. Apparently the Florida Keys has some American crocodiles. Saw those. I mean, you just never know. Man, there's so much stuff down there in the ocean. If we go in the water here, we go for a little swim. If it happens today in 50-degree water, we're in big trouble. Like it ain't the fish that would kill us, it'd be the water temperature. But just normal day, you go for a little swim out here, nothing's going to happen, right? Like these fish, they're either not going to pay you no attention or they're going to be scared of you because you're a human-sized creature in their world and they're much smaller. You go down there in the ocean, man, we're not the top of the food chain anymore. Like we're edible, and you start splashing around, kicking your feet, trying to climb back up into a kayak or a boat, like you're ringing a dinner bell, man. It could get bad. And I seen one person, it wasn't this past year, I think it's the year before, or maybe the year before that. I've been down there I went to the Keys the last 3 years, went to Florida the last 4 in the winter. And I saw a person out there, they had their boat anchored, and they were out in the water swimming, and they had their damn dog out there. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. Who the hell would take their dog out there? They were up on a little flat, but I'm like, man, there's sharks up on that flat. Like, they've lost their damn mind. And so it got me wondering. I'm like, I wonder how many dogs of people who live out there either on the beach or near the beach, I wonder how many people's dogs get eaten throughout the year. Like, the owners out there, they're taking their dog for a walk on the beach. Maybe they're throwing a ball or a stick out in the ocean. The dog goes and gets it, brings it back. Or like these dummies that had their dog out on the boat and put it in the water out there with them. Like, how? It's not zero. I don't know what the number is. It may not be a very big number, but I'd be willing to bet you it's not zero. I bet you some dogs get eaten. I mean, I stay mad at my dog all the time, but hell, I wouldn't throw her out there in the ocean and let her go for a swim. And I've seen videos of people like down south, like Florida, Louisiana and stuff, where they live in areas that have alligators. And I've seen videos online, people out there trying to fight off an alligator to save their dog. And that's, of course, another situation. I'm like, well, you live down near a swamp and you got a dog, it's got to be at risk, right? Like, it's how many dogs get eaten by alligators? It's not zero. But I bet you it's the same thing with the ocean. Like, how many dogs get sharked throughout the year? I don't know. I wouldn't put my dog out there in that situation. I'm sure my dog, Daphne, would love playing on the sand of the beach. And I'd certainly let her do it if I had her down there and it was public beach that allowed dogs or something, but I wouldn't let her get out there. You know, water's edge, fine, but I'm not going to let her get out there and go for a swim in it. Because them sharks, man, they'll get up real shallow. Some of them flats and stuff that I've worked through to get to where I'm going to be fishing, like, you see stuff, man, there's a lot of predators out there in the ocean. Like, it's a different world, man. We go fishing here in fresh water and like we're the very top rung of the food chain. And in the ocean, as long as you're in the safety of that boat or kayak or whatever vessel you're in, as long as you're in the safety of it, you're, I guess, higher up on that food chain. But as soon as you enter that water, you fall all the way down that food chain. I mean, even other stuff, even like, forget the sharks. Man, there's jellyfish and there's these other things. I didn't see any when I went down there this year in the Keys. It must be a seasonal thing, but these things called like man of war, that's literally their name, man of war. They're like these little blobs. They're clear. You can see through them. There's little blobs. I've been told if you swim into one of those, if you get stung by one of those, like it's crippling. Like it'll put you in the hospital type crippling. I mean, there's just so much down there in the ocean that can hurt you. It's incredible. It's exhilarating. Something about the fear of it, I guess, the unknown, the uncertainty, I think that adds to the excitement of it a little bit in some weird sadistic way, but still, like you're taking a gamble every time you go out there. That's another reason why when I'm fishing down there, and of course something can go wrong anywhere, but thus far, like I've stayed pretty close to the shore. Like there's been a couple times I've got drug out a long ways fighting a big fish. And that first year I went to Florida, I went with them fellas, sailfish, went after sailfish. And of course in that situation I've got people with me, but like if I'm by myself down there, if I'm alone, I don't want to make a run way offshore to one of those reefs or wrecks or anything. It's like, I just don't want to do that, because if something goes wrong, yeah, I carry a VHF radio to call Coast Guard if I need to, but like, that's an emergency situation, and you don't know how long it's going to take them to get there. Like, if you need help right now, I just don't, for me, I just ain't comfortable. Maybe I'll get to a point where I'm more comfortable with it, but I'm not there yet. We got a John boat coming here. I guess he's going to go between me and the boat. He's worked his way out over here now, folks. He's right over here. He's too far away to talk to him. He's actually reeled up. He's moving on now. We got this little John boat that's going to, I guess, go in this creek here or between us or something. I'm curious to see where this guy in the boat goes. Is he going to go back to that creek and pull out again? If he does, it means if he does it again, we're going to know he caught fish back there. Because he wouldn't be making a second pass if he hadn't caught anything. At least I don't think he would. Yeah, he's running back in there. He must have got on some fish. I don't know what the John boat's going to do. He's heading in that creek too. Hell, I guess we've picked the most popular creek out here. There's literally 3 boats on the water today, and every one of us is this damn creek. That's another reason, though, right there, is why setting up and doing things how I do things, like we're doing right now, it's kind of nice, because like once we're on this spot, it's ours for as long as we want it. If you're working a creek, like if you're going from shallow to deep, working your way out, and somebody else is in there, or you're going one way and somebody else is coming the other, like it can get crowded, get congested. You got to go around each other and stuff. But if you're anchor fishing on a spot, it's less likely for other people being on the water to be able to interfere with. But the only thing that could go wrong when you're fishing like we are today, involving other people anyway, is if somebody gets right down current of you and kind of cuts off your scent trail. Now out here today, it's not a problem, because if they're moving water, it's minimal. But let's just say, for example, it was a day, if you're fishing on a river, or you're fishing even out here on the reservoir on a day where you've got some flow and somebody sets up right below you and cuts off your scent trail, like that can be a problem. And yeah, they'll do it too. There's no etiquette anymore in the fishing world. Same thing with like YouTubers copying down to the minute the same exact title, the same exact length of time of your video. Like, if somebody sees you having success with something, they're going to just do it instead of trying to figure out something on their own. But at least in our situation here today with fishing, we're not really, nothing's going to mess us up out here today, other than maybe fish not biting. We've only got that one now. Where are we at on time with this? I'm trying to remember now when it was that we got set up out here. I'm trying to remember. I definitely wanted to give this an hour, especially right here in this time frame, because this is, like right now, it's 1:23 right now. We're kind of in that time period, 1 to 2 o'clock range, where the last couple trips out, I've busted the big fish. And so if we have some big fish turning on around the same time period again today, we're in position to get them. But we did catch 3 fish dragging that creek. We got the other fellow there that was dragging with the planer boards, who is now making a second pass in there, which tells me again, if he fished that creek from the back all the way out and didn't get a bite, would he be going back? I doubt it. So maybe we should get back on the drag. Not in this creek, obviously, where we've got 2 boats in there now, but we could hit one of these others. I'm tempted, folks. I'm tempted. Let's give it a few more minutes here, though. Let's see if we can't get a big fish to come along. Yeah, in this spot, 2 trips ago, I fished this spot that we're sitting on right now. And so we know fish are moving in this creek. We know there's bait in this creek. We got this weather system coming. Like, I think there's a chance we could bust a big one here potentially. But here's the other thing: if these fish are real active, maybe they want a moving bait. We've still got that live shad in the bucket. We could put him on and wound him a little bit, throw him on a dragon rig. And I normally don't like running live baits on a dragon rig because they'll usually swim their way forward and get all wrapped up in your leader or your main line and dragon sinker and stuff. But the shad, if you slice them a little bit, I haven't had any issues with them yet. We'll see. But that's probably what I'd do. If we end up dragging, I'll either take that one or the other one that's still alive assuming he is still alive, on our other hook, and put him on, and would do the same thing we done before. Drag a whole big bait and then a smaller cut bait. I'm not opposed to anything out here today. I just want to catch some fish. I really, really don't want to get wet. I'm just cold-natured anyway, so I'm cold out here, even though it's warmer than it has been a lot of times lately. But you get wet, you're going to feel colder. And I've got the umbrella. I've got the poor man's bimini top over here just waiting to put it up. I got my rain jacket on, but still. We roll out of here by 3 o'clock-ish. Should be good. Some boats are still back there. I mean, I ain't gonna go back there and run through their lines to go back there and try to net shad. I'll just get some more next time we're out, but it would be kind of nice to go make another throw or 2 or 10 and just see if we could get some more and have a head start on the next trip. But if we end up going and dragging one of these other creeks in a few minutes, if we don't see shad flipping there, then I probably won't run all the way back over here. That's the thing, man. When you're kayak fishing, I don't care if you've got a trolling motor or you're pedaling, whatever. You just can't go very fast. Your range is very limited. And so I'm not going to run all over creation. I've been having problems with this battery too, with the trolling motor here. It's a few years old. It don't hold a charge very good, and it seems to die off quicker. Them lithium batteries, you're supposed to be able to run them down to 0. Where like a traditional lead acid battery, when it's fully charged, you've got full power, and then you kind of lose power as the battery declines, and then you're not supposed to run them down very far, like below 50%. Lithiums, you're supposed to be able to run all the way down, and they maintain power the whole way. This one, you get down about 50-60% charge on this thing, it just dies. So I don't have the range that I used to have. I don't know what's wrong with it. So I'd ordered 2 new batteries. They're actually, I think, supposed to be delivered today. And let me tell you what I've done. This is smart in the beginning, but turned out to be stupid. So, as a YouTuber, you get messages all the time of companies wanting you to hawk their products for them. And most of it's garbage. Most of the companies, it's stuff you'd never even be interested in or totally unrelated to the type of videos you're making. But every once in a while, you get something that's appealing. Like I've done a lot of the electric bikes, right? I mean, that's a big ticket item. They're fun for me to play with, and when I'm done, I keep 2 bikes. I keep one for me and one for my girlfriend. But the rest of them I've just sold, so it's easy money, and they sell very quickly. So I always keep an eye on most of the time they go to the spam folder of your email. But one of the types of products that comes up for my channel all the time is lithium batteries. And I usually just ignore them because the price of lithium batteries has come down so much, it's really not worth plugging a company in a video to save $200. You know, at this point, they're getting way more advertisement than what you're getting in return. And I just don't want to be I don't want to be a Billy Mays sham wow type salesman, so I just ignore them. But I had bought that Bonafide kayak with the 36 volt motor, and the 36 volt batteries are way more expensive, right? And so I bought one, a more reputable brand, and then my email, I start noticing companies wanting to send me these batteries, and I was like, it'd be nice have me a couple spare batteries, that way when I travel for a tournament or something, I don't have to take batteries into the hotel to charge them. I can just switch them out there and hopefully be able to fish for a few days without ever having to charge a battery in a hotel. So I accepted a couple offers from these companies. Well, guess what? The batteries come, I try out the kayak, and I hate the kayak, so now I'm not using it. But meanwhile, I've still got these batteries. So it's like, what do you do? And so, of course, I've had the problem with the lithium battery here, the 12 volt. And I was like, well, I'm going to buy some lithium batteries anyway. I'll just buy from the 2 companies that I accepted the 36 volt batteries from and try to do a video for them. And one company was okay with that. The other one wanted their 36-volt battery back. So I'm like, well, that's fine. I'm not going to not send them the battery back. Well, I go to send it back. Oh, man, it's starting to rain. Crap. But I go to send it back. Well, guess what? The UPS store won't take it. Well, they took it, but then they called me to come get it because it's too big a battery. I guess you got to have a hazmat type thing, some kind of certification to be able to ship it. And I'm like, well, UPS delivered it. What's the problem? And yes, they can deliver them. They can transport them, but the store has to have some kind of certification. And they don't do that. And I'm like, well, how the hell am I going to get this battery back? So I sent a message to that company. And I'm like, look, again, I'll gladly send you this battery back, but I don't know how I'm going to get it back to you if I can't get one of these shipping companies to take it, because I don't have the ability to get them to take it. I don't have the proper paperwork and all that. And so I'm waiting to hear back. But I was like, how stupid was I? Like, ain't nothing free in this world, folks. So now I've got I got them other two back. I think they're coming today. Again, I bought one from each company. And so I'm going to have to do one for sure where I give them 3-5 minutes, whatever, just talking about batteries and their battery. And I may have to do that with the other one. I'm going to put my hood on, folks. We're getting, in fact, let me just go ahead and get the umbrella here because it's rain. You saw that radar when I pulled it open earlier. You saw it. There was no rain in our area. It was west of us. And now here it is raining. Let me open up the radar again. Let's see what we're dealing with here. Okay, well, looky there. It moved in. Hopefully we're just on the outer edge of it here. Hopefully it ain't gonna stick around too much longer. I'm gonna get cold quick. I'm already cold. I do think I want to get back to dragging though, folks. I think I do. We've just got that one fish out here so far. And granted, we've busted a couple big fish the last 2 trips, but the bite overall has been very slow. Suspending baits. We did get 3 dragging on the way out through here, and pretty quickly. I kind of think maybe I do want to spend the rest of my time out here today dragging. I guess I'm thinking out loud. That fellow over there, he must have caught fish because he's following the same line on the way out of that creek that he did before. Like it's not even like he's switching to the other side of the creek. Like he's on the same path as before. So he must have got on some fish. Let's see what happens right here. We got a fish that come up here and looked at our bait there on the screen. Let's just give it a couple more minutes, see if this rain will slack off. It's not raining bad, but I mean, it's just enough to be a nuisance. But we're on the outside edge according to radar. So we'll take a look. We'll reel up these suspended baits, put them up, go over here and maybe drag this creek on the other side of the channel. See how that does. We may, depending on how long that takes, we may hit one of these other creeks too before we try to beat the heavier rain, before we beat it out of here. It's one thing to get drenched if you're catching fish, but to just be getting a bite here and there like we've done today, I ain't trying to get all soaking wet. It's bass boat, man. I'll tell you what, when you're going 70 miles an hour and it's raining like this, and it starts pelting your face, that hurts. If I was running me a bass boat like that, I think I'd get me some goggles. That way you wouldn't be taking raindrops right to the cornea as you run down the lake 70 miles an hour. I'm holding this umbrella right now. I do have my poor man's Bimini top mount that I made with PVC and a ram ball over here. But I ain't gonna stick it in there just yet because I think we're gonna be able to, I'm hoping anyway, we're gonna be able to put this umbrella completely up in a minute. There's another fish down there on our screen, folks. I'm not gonna lean down there and shift my weight in the kayak, but I see another one there on the screen that has come up. Took a look at our bait, so maybe we got some working through. We're due for another bite, man. I'm ready to get it too. I'm still pumped up though, y'all, about getting to go back to the Keys. I'm looking forward to it. Get the hell out of here. I should be able to get a few more trips in, weather dependent, before I go down. It'd be nice to get ahead, that way there wouldn't be a disruption to the video schedule, but no guarantees this time of year. Internet down there in the Key, well, where I'm staying at anyway, is so slow I can't really upload videos there. Elias, he's staying down there at the same place, and he's uploaded some long videos, but he said it took him 12 hours to get it uploaded. He's been doing some 4-hour videos too. I'm friends with him. I'm like, Elias, why the hell 4 hours? It's my camera battery. It dies at 4 hours. Like, there's nothing special about it, man. I mean, I'm like, I swear I don't understand people. I'm like, y'all just go do your thing, man. Just go do your thing. If you're happy and enjoying what you're doing, your audience is probably going to enjoy what you're doing. You know, my channel was doing real good for a while with the edited videos, but the views kind of started to drop, and, well, honestly, hell, my attitude had started to drop too, because I was kind of, I don't like editing. I don't like sitting behind a computer for long periods of time. And so I know my attitude on those videos had started to deteriorate, and that probably made it a bad viewing experience for y'all, and of course views are going to drop. But once I started doing this format, it kind of suits me. I like it better. I'm enjoying it more, and so I'm happy, and I don't know, it just seems like it seems like the more I enjoy doing something, the more views I get. It may not always be that way. I'm sure this will fall off at some point, but I think the people who are trying to do what I'm doing just because they think it's going to get them an extra click, I think that's probably a reason why their views are minimal compared to mine. That's the only thing I can figure, because God knows they've copied everything else. I mean, down to the minute that my battery pack usually dies. It's crazy. But it is what it is, man. That's the name of the game. If something works, everybody's going to try to get their clicks. Me, I'm just going to do what I want and try to catch some fish. Anybody wants to come with me, come on. If you don't like it, don't want to watch, well, that's fine too. Yeah, like I said, y'all keep watching, I keep doing it. Y'all stop watching, I'll keep fishing. I just won't bring a camera with me. I won't have to worry about throwing a cast net and slinging it off. Y'all, every time I'm getting ready to just think about getting out of here, I keep seeing something come up. Look at our baits right there, man. There's another one that's back. I just feel like we got some fish working through right now. Even though we're not getting bit, I keep seeing on the screen. I'll put this umbrella up here in a minute, though. I think this rain's starting to, it's starting to slack off a little bit. Just kick my feet up. Let's give it just a few more minutes here, folks. Just doo-doos and giggles. I just want to see all them fish right there that we've seen come up in the last few minutes. Take a look at our baits. I just want to see if one of them will commit. They ain't even touched the baits. They've just come up, investigated them. Used to see that when I had the live scope on. Of course, you'd see that all the time, but you can kind of see it a little bit on the 2D graph, not as in much detail, of course. I mean, at the live scope, you can almost see them, like the way they'll come up and look at the bait, kind of circle around it and whatnot. It's obviously a lot more detail oriented in that situation because that live scope is, you're seeing it live as that fish comes up to your bait, whereas this 2D, the image, well, the clarity is obviously not as good, and it's on a little bit of a delay. Like what we're seeing on the screen happened a second ago, 2 seconds ago, however long the gap is. But you can still kind of tell when fish like that, like I showed you there, come up and look, you can see what that looks like. And after having had the live scope the last 2 or 3 years, however the hell long I had it, like you know what it is they're doing down there. But they haven't touched any of these baits. They're just not committing. We'll go try to drag here in a minute. We'll go to one of these other creeks since there's two. I don't know what that Jumbo, I don't know where he went. Based on the boat, though, in fact, he didn't have rod holders all over. I'd say he's probably crappie fishing, would be my guess. The other guy we know is catfishing, so I'm not gonna encroach on him. We'll go. I think what we'll do is we'll go over here to the other side of the channel. Over here on the other side, there's a nice point that comes off. And we'll work that creek channel all the way back up in there. Or we could run down. There's another creek right down here on the right. I could make a strong case for either one of them. They both probably got some fish in them. It don't matter. We'll go to this when it's closer. All right, I think we can put up the umbrella now. Y'all can put your poor man's bimini top up. Let's reel them up. Let's go over here and get back to dragging. Let's get this one here first. We'll see if our other one over here, it's got the live bait. If he's still alive, we're gonna use him. Hell damn, I got that thing wrapped up around the sinker again. That might have been part of our problem. Them fish are coming up looking at our baits and they're like, well, that idiot, he's done tipped us off. We know that ain't a bait that we want to eat. Okay. Yeah, let's just see what this thing looks like. Hopefully he's still alive. Yeah, he's still alive. Well, here's what we'll do. We will use him dragging then. We'll stick him back in this bucket for the time being there until we get over here. Yeah, I think we'll go in this other creek across the channel here. It's closer. There's a nice point that comes off of it. I've caught fish at various times of the year off the end of that point and up in that creek. Okay, one more. We'll just go back to dragging. We could suspend a couple off the front and drag off the back, but when I'm dragging creeks, and this is just my personal preference, but when I'm dragging creeks, I prefer to just drag, because if you try suspending, you're going to have to be constantly changing the depth of your baits to accommodate the depth change in the creek. If I'm fishing a ledge and the depth is pretty consistent, then I'll drag and suspend oftentimes. But I just don't want to be constantly up and down tinkering. It gets to be a nuisance. And then when you get farther back in the creeks where it's 20 feet and less, I don't really like suspending that shallow anyway. I just don't do as good. That's just me. Again, it goes back to confidence. I've caught fish suspending baits in less than 20 feet deep, but I do way better suspending at deeper depths, for sure. But we definitely got more action. I mean, that first hour, dragging baits, we were getting bit. And then as soon as we got out there and stopped, yeah, we got that one fish, but that's been it. I think I want to drag. Let's go over here. We'll start out in front of this point and work our way back. This point, it's probably going to be 35, 40 feet deep, I would imagine. And then we'll work our way back to, we'll see how it goes once we get back in the creek. If we're seeing shad way up shallow, flipping, we'll work our way on the way back. If we're not seeing them back there, there's no point in working back shallower if there's not bait there, right? Like wouldn't be any reason for predator fish to go back that far if all the bait is farther out in the creek. So we'll just we'll see how it goes once we get back there. So right here was that deep flat I was talking about, and now you can see it dropping off here into the old river channel. We're going to be going through the old river channel here now. And of course, it really drops off fast. You can see it. My screen's having trouble keeping up as I'm leaning over and steering the kayak with my body weight. Let me pay attention here to what I'm doing. I've taken my skeg off this kayak, and so now this thing turns very quickly. This Hobie Pro Angler has a drop-down skeg, so if you're going to be trolling, dragging baits, whatever, you could drop that thing down and it would keep you straighter in a straight line. Or if the wind was blowing, you had a cross breeze, it would make it so the kayak didn't spin as easily. It was a really nice thing to have. I used it a lot. Well, my line broke about a year and a half ago, and I couldn't retract it anymore. And that was incredibly frustrating, but I was like, whatever, I'll make it work. Well, then I got my new trailer, and I can't, the skeg was getting hung on the new trailer with it always being down like that. And so I said, hell with it, I'm gonna take the thing off. And so I took the whole contraption off. I never could figure out how to fix it. The diagram on the Hobie website was for a non-mechanically inclined person like me, it was very difficult to comprehend. We've got 2 Hobie dealers in my area. Neither one of them knew how to fix it. Like, it just wasn't going to get fixed. So I just took the damn thing off. So now the kayak will slide on and off the trailer very easily, but don't have a skeg anymore. So if I'm making a long run like this, full speed, the kayak's going to turn all over the place if I lean over or hit my rudder handle or something like that. So yeah, we're just going to run right down here past this point. You can kind of see there's the tip of the point there. We're coming up the side. We're going to run right down here. We'll turn and go right up in this creek. Okay. And hopefully there's going to be some bait up in this creek. Take this one off. Well, actually, we'll probably cut that thing in a minute. Let's get this one here. I can get hold of him. This is the one that we had on the suspended rod. You know what? I can't get hold of him. Let's just do that and get him with the net. There we go. Okay. Let's just get him bleeding just a little bit here. Just a little bit there. Oh crap! Got that hook there in my cast net. There we go. Okay, so let's get ourselves going up in this creek. I'm going to hit the north button. I'm going to hit the cruise control, which will put us at 1 mile an hour, and then I'm going to back it off to 0.5. Now let's start letting out some line on that thing. Now, let's take this other one over here. We'll leave that one in the bucket for now, in case we need him. Switch out this bait on this rig. Might as well just spruce everything up. Yeah, on the end of this point here, 39 feet. Start letting that line on that. My hand's wet there. It's cold, y'all. I just don't like being cold. I don't know how you people up north deal with it. And it ain't nearly as cold here as what y'all deal with. Hell, our lows are still warmer than y'all's highs in certain places. My hands do it. I ain't gonna let out a bunch of line on these rigs. I don't really need to. But I do want to let out a little bit, at least here to start, while we're in a little bit deeper depth. We don't have, fortunately, even with this front coming in, we don't have any wind today. Well, not any real problematic wind. So the water's calm, not having real choppy conditions. So no reason to let out a bunch of line, but I want to have enough out to put a little distance between the kayak and the baits. but not so much that it's not fun to reel them in. Because most of these times, look, you know how it is. You've caught catfish. Well, most of you have that watching these videos. The fight of a catfish, it's fun, but it's short-lived. And so if you've got 100 yards of line out, hell, by the time you get the catfish into you, it's done, man. It's exhausted. Whereas if you suspending baits and you got 30 feet of line out, like you can have a pretty intense battle the whole way through. And that's what I want. I want that intense battle, man. I want to enjoy myself. Go to all this trouble getting bait and dealing with the cold. I want the tug of war, man. All right, I'm going to flip that bail over, and we got both of them pulling now. I'm already seeing a mark right there, just off the bottom. So you can see how we've come around this point. Well, our baits are going to be coming around this point. And we're going to go right up into this channel here, which is right up here. And we'll just go until we stop seeing any bait. And I'm seeing a little bit of shad activity up here in front of us. A flip here and there. So we know there's some bait on out in this creek. We'll just run on up until we stop seeing it. I've caught bait back in this creek before. Skipjack and shad. Pretty much everything's up in here. Same way with all these creeks up and down. We've got, right here in this area, we've got this one and two more up above here. And then on the other side, you've got three, I think, going down that way too. So I think, and plus you got another one right down here too on the right that's not very, it's not very big. But it's still there nonetheless. So the bottom line is there's a lot of places in this section of the river that you can run up into, find bait. It's a lot of shallow water feeding areas for catfish to move up into and then have a quick retreat back out to deeper water. And we're just going to try to hopefully put our baits in front of some of these fish as they come up in here. Maybe chase some of these baits around. Chase some of these schools of shad around. I would assume that's probably mostly what's in these creeks right now, just because I've not seen skipjack in so long. I don't know where they're at right now. Normally this time of year I would find some skipjack on this part of the reservoir back in the creeks. But not so far this year. So when fish do move up, assuming those skipjack aren't there or aren't there in good numbers, they're probably going to be feeding on the shad or crappie or something like that, because I'm not really seeing. One creek I fished the other day and I got the video, I was getting yellow bass there, but I'm not really seeing white bass right now either. So okay, there goes that boat. He's leaving out of that creek now. I guess he give up after the second pass. Or he looked at radar and thought better of it. That may be it too. He may be the smart one. He'll get out of here and be off the water before the rain hits, and me and you gonna get soaked. Mainly me. Be worth it if we busted a monster though, wouldn't it? If we got a beast from the east, a Bam Bam Bigelow, be worthwhile. Speaking of Bam Bam Bigelow, I've been talking about them damn wrestling figures that I've been buying. I'd got my Road Warriors action figures. They look really good. They're not as posable. And again, y'all don't give a crap about this, but I'm into it, so we're going to talk about it. They're not as posable as the others. They don't have they don't bend at the elbows or the knees or the ankles like the other figures do, but boy, they look good. The head sculpt on them looks authentic, man. I thought about, because again, it's a different company. It's not Mattel that makes the WWE Superstars line that I've been into. This company's, I think it's called Bell to Bell, I think it's called, that makes the Road Warriors. They also make the Steiner brothers from the 90s, which I'd kind of like to have those too, but they don't look as good. They don't look bad, but they don't look as good. And it's the fact that they don't look as good and they're not as posable because of the lack of being able to bend the elbows or knees. I don't know if I'm going to get those. Still waiting on my Rock and Roll Express. They're supposed to be here, I think, end of January sometime. If everything's on time. I don't know how the whole pre-order thing goes. I don't know that I've ever pre-ordered anything in my life. If I have, I can't think of it off the top of my head. But these wrestling figures, the Rock and Roll Express, and I'd also got Magnum TA and Tully Blanchard. They opened them up for pre-order back in November, and they're shipping out in January, end of January supposedly. So I guess they just... Maybe the company doesn't have a lot of money, and they opened up the pre-order for a couple months, and then whoever pre-orders, that's the amount of figures they will order. Maybe they're not confident that they're going to sell a lot. I don't know. But me, like, when I see something I want it now. I don't want to wait. I hate these teasers. Like, the kayak industry does it all the time. They'll give you like a little teaser video, and then 2 weeks later you'll get another teaser video. And I'm like, just give me the damn product. Just holler when you're ready to tell me about it. Because 3 or 4 years ago, the kayak companies would do that, and people were hyped up about it. Like there was competition in the kayak industry. People were innovating. But now when they try it, like there hasn't been any innovation in 2 or 3 years in the kayak world. It's just more of the same. So when companies try this, I'm like, there's no buzz anymore. Like nobody's getting hyped up over it. Like, wow, Hobie did this recently with their new Hobie Pro Angler model. The XR or whatever I think it's called. Like they were hyping it up, and it's like, it comes out, and it's the same damn kayak. Like, wow, different colors, cool. Wow, you made it to where bow mount motors will install more easily. Thanks, because that's important. Not really, because now there's how many companies making accessory plates for the front because Hobie wouldn't do it years ago. Like, Hobie basically just done... They just hurt the small businesses is all they done. They let all these other small businesses make these adapters and accessories for them. And then Hobie's like, okay, well, we'll just do that on our own. Like, that's all they done. They didn't innovate anything. They just added to their kayak what other people had already come up with products to do. So, because of that, and because we've been burned so many times with this, I don't know, fake hype, if you will, like something new's coming. Like, you know, now, used to, when Hobie would make an announcement, they were coming out with something new, them teaser videos, like people were hyped up. You'd have 200 comments under it with people guessing what it was going to be. The last time they done that, there was less than 10 comments on their post. Like, nobody cares anymore. Now, I get it's probably like that with all things to an extent. I mean, I remember I didn't have the first iPhone that come out. I think the first iPhone that I got was 6 or 7. Like, iPhone had been out a long time before I got one. But the first few iPhones that came out, and y'all may remember this, the TV news stories and stuff, like people would be camped out on sidewalks. They would be lined up trying to rush in the store and get that first iPhone, the first few models of it. But now, and I don't even know how many iPhones there are now. I think mine's a 13 that I got right now. It's a few years old. But now, every year, Apple comes out with their new iPhone, and it's like, ho-hum, great. Wow, they got a new camera. Wow, you unlock it with your face instead of your thumb now. Like, whoop-de-doo. Like, the magic is gone, if you will. So, I'm sure there'll be something new come out here in the next year or two or something. It may not be iPhone type thing. It may not be kayak related, but there's going to be there's always some innovation going on somewhere that people are going to get really fired up about and be excited about. But the kayak industry, man, it's really just, it's been a letdown the last few years. Even this past year, when they come out with the Bonafide and Wilderness Systems come out with their new kayak, I mean, I was excited about it. Not obviously after I got in the Bonafide, I wasn't excited anymore. So I really don't like it. But I mean, it was at least some excitement. But I haven't seen a product come out in the kayak fishing world in a long time where I was just like, I gotta have that. Like, I want that bad. Like, I haven't just, everything that's come out, I've immediately been able to put qualifiers on it. Like, well, I like it, it's cool, but, like the Bonafide, I saw it and I'm like, okay, I think that's got potential to be a replacement for what I'm in now, but it's super heavy. But it's more like a John boat than it is a kayak. You know, like there's qualifying statements. There's nothing that's come out in a long time where I've just been like, I gotta have that. Like, that's what I want. Like, I gotta have it. Even the Hobie Lynx, which I love. I talked myself out of getting it for 2 years. For 2 full years, y'all have heard me talk about it, but not get it because of the butt. Like, yeah, it's lightweight. Yeah, you can't sink it. Yeah, I think it'd be a lot of fun to fish off of, but it's not very durable. But I'm worried about the Hobie pedal drive system causing me problems with sciatica. You know, but I'm not, I'm worried the seat's not going to be very comfortable because it sets fairly low to the deck. Like, I had all these qualifiers. Like, there's been nothing that's just blown me away in the kayak fishing world in a long time. The last time I think I was blown away, and it ended up being a letdown, was the Old Town Autopilot kayak. When it first come out, this was back in 2020, and they had incorporated, first off, they had taken what was a bow mount motor and recessed it farther back in the hull so that you didn't have all that weight right on the very front of the hull. And they had made it lighter, and you still had your spot lock and all of that. And they had taken that motor and essentially built the kayak around it. Like, I was pumped for that kayak, man. I couldn't wait to get it. Like, I was excited about it. Now, the excitement wore off very quickly. I mean, I got one and the motor tore up the very first trip out. Had to have a warranty claim on day one. So that kind of killed the buzz a little bit. But then I got the motor back and I had another warranty claim a few months later when the steering mechanism went out. And so it ended up being kind of a letdown. And then the motor had that Morse code type frequency sound. It was weird because not everybody can hear it. Like, you either have the ability to hear that frequency or you don't. And if you can hear it, it will drive you insane. I could hear it. But like, you take my dad, for instance, he never could hear it. He couldn't hear it in person. He couldn't hear it on video. But same thing. Like, if you can hear that frequency, then you would hear it in my video as well. And it would drive you nuts. And so I couldn't, I ended up selling that kayak. I just couldn't. The kayak itself was okay. Like, it was very heavy, but it was a very sturdy platform. I mean, all Old Town kayaks are very well built. They're probably the most well-built kayaks of any brand, as far as just durability, how thick the plastic is, all that. But that particular model, I think what Old Town had done, and we'll never know this, but here's what I think happened. I think they took their original power drive motor that they probably had a bunch in a factory somewhere, just like the old original ones that they had left over, hadn't sold. And they're like, let's repurpose these. And so they took the motors apart, built a new mount for it, and stuck them in these new kayaks as a way to get rid of old stock. That's what I think happened. If they had put some of their newer models, there was a big mark right there, buddy. You see that? Look at that. There's a couple more smaller ones up above, but that one there is right near the bottom. We'll be pulling by him here shortly. But I think that's probably what Old Town done, because Old Town, they're owned by Johnson Outdoors, and Johnson Outdoors owns not only Old Town kayaks, but they also own Minn Kota trolling motors. They own Humminbird Electronics. Like, they're the parent company of several fishing brands. And so, you know damn well, they were going to use a Minn Kota motor for the motor on that setup there, since it's the same company that owns them. But I bet you them things were just, they had a bunch of old stock. Because why else would you go with that motor versus the Ultera or the Terova, one of those better quality motors, one of the newer ones that they've come out with in recent years? Like, why wouldn't you put that in your top of the line, your flagship model of your kayak? Why go with the old power drive? It didn't make sense at the time, unless it's a cost-cutting move, because they already had a bunch of old stock that they had probably already written off anyway. And so if you repurpose that, then it keeps your costs down and more profit per boat. So if you end up not selling as many, as this rod's getting hit, I think we got one. We do. Oh, he's pulling line. Look at him, he's stripping drag, buddy. He's stripping drag, that's our, oh no, and he let go. Oh my gosh, he was pulling drag, folks. That's on that whole shad. Dang, let me reel him in. I thought maybe he might come back for it, but he hit it so hard he was pulling that line. I wonder if that's the one we just went over there. Dang, man, he was taking some line. We'll see if he's got our bait. He's still flapping his gills a bit. Let me put him down in the water here. I think he's about had it, folks. Let's switch him out for the other one that's in our bucket here. Yeah, I'll just stick him back there in the water a minute. He's been through a traumatic time with that fish eating him there, but just didn't get to hook, man. Just didn't work out that time. Let's stick this one on. We'll put a slit or two in him as well. Yeah, come here now. You come here now. We got a mess here on the floor, y'all. I'm gonna have to clean this. Okay. Okay, let's throw this one out. Dang, man. He felt good. He felt good, folks. I didn't get to feel him long. He must just not eat him head first. You could make a strong argument for having baits this long, for having a stinger hook in the back, putting a second hook in them. I should. I don't. Cost us right there, I guess. Dang. I bet you that was the one we had just seen on the screen, though. I pointed out to you. Dang, man. Well, it's good to know. Here's what we know now, if nothing else. If there's one big fish up in here, there could be more. And so we'll just keep working our way along until we stop seeing them shad. I see one bird. Oftentimes them birds will tell you where the shad is at, but we're not really seeing a lot of birds out here today. I see one back here, back in this creek flying around. But I ain't seen a whole flock of them. I don't know what them birds are called, but every year they migrate through East Tennessee in the winter months. Man. I thought we was going to have a beast on right there, folks. A beast from the east, a Bam Bam Bigelow. I've leaned over now. Let me fix my life jacket back so y'all ain't, my rain jacket, so y'all ain't hearing that rustling in your ears. Right there on the microphone. Yeah, again, folks, I'm just trying to go right up in the middle of this old channel. It comes down real sharp on each side here because the old creek channel wasn't very wide. And there looks like some brush right there. Hopefully it won't get hung on that, but I'm just pulling right up through here, going this way. Are you kidding me? Is this boat going to come over here? I hope he takes a left and goes on upriver. Surely to God, this boat ain't going to come right over here and fish where we're at. He looks like he's heading this way, don't he? I think that's a bass boat. You just can't get away from people, man. You just cannot get away from people anywhere you go. Even a day like today, middle of winter, rainstorm coming. Everywhere you go, here's somebody. Dadgummit. I mean, people were the reason why we left the other creek. We come over here, there ain't nobody here, and Bobby damn, here comes people. we just can't catch a break with it. Okay, right here's another fish though. Look at this. Right there off the bottom, man. Right there off the bottom. All right. We're about to pull by another one here very soon, y'all. Hopefully we'll have better luck hooking up if we get him to eat. That bait wasn't marked up, but he clearly had him. I mean, he had him clamped down and pulling some drag there. He must have just not eat him right. I guess these guys are going to run all the way back up in here or something. I think it's bass fishermen at least. At least we ain't going to be At least we ain't gonna have to be sharing this creek with another catfisherman that's gonna be probably doing the same thing we are. And bass fishermen will stay close to the shoreline over there probably. But once we get back on in here, the way it chokes down, we're gonna still be having a hard time working around each other. I'm seeing some shad over here to the right though. They're kind of up on that. It's like a red clay bank over there. So you know that dark a bank when the sun's out, not today obviously, but on a warmer, sunny winter day, that bank's gonna heat up quick. There's some bait over there on it. And there must be some bait over on the other side because I see a heron right there at the water's edge, and he ain't standing there for no good reason. So we got some bait that we're going to be working up in this creek a little farther since there's some bait up in here. I may too, when I roll out of here today, I may just throw the net back here too and see what I can get. Throw it over there on that mud, and it may be thread fins that's popping, but it could be gizzards too. Either way, I'm dumping the bait I got in the cooler now. Like I said, I'm gonna throw it out. It's old. We'll either, if I get some bait before I leave here today, we'll start out with some on the next trip. If not, then we will catch some bait on the next trip right before we go catfishing. Either way, we'll really don't matter, I don't guess. It just, sometimes I think it's a good idea to catch bait on the video before you go catfishing, just to show people how you do it and how I do it anyway, right or wrong. But other times I think it's a good idea to go ahead and have it. That way you get a few hours of the type of fishing that you tuned in to see. If you click on a catfish video, most people ain't looking to see shad netted. But catching bait, I mean, if you're going to catch catfish, you got to catch bait. You gotta have something to bait a hook with. You could use chicken, a lot of people do, but more oftentimes than not, you're gonna do better with an actual fish, something they're in the water, they're eating it, they're naturally feeding on it. I mean, these catfish that move up into this creek, let's say, they ain't finding no chicken nuggets back up in here, y'all. They're not. Like, they're finding some kind of fish. Probably shad, maybe skipjack, maybe something else. I mean, they're predators moving up to eat. Sure, they're going to eat. If they find a dead fish on bottom, they're going to eat it. Sure, they're opportunistic. They're going to scavenge, but they're also going to hunt. And it don't matter whether they're scavenging or they're hunting, they're not finding chicken unless it's on a hook. So I just think, I think you're going to do better over the long run if you're using actual fish. Some kind of native fish species to the water that you're fishing. So to get that, you got to catch it. Whether it's throwing a cast net for shad, whether it's casting or trolling for skipjack, or depending on your laws wherever you live, white bass, crappie, whatever. Everybody's laws are different, various states. Restrictions on what you can or can't use. It's just, that's up to you to know wherever you're at. Oh, somebody's got a damn jackhammer over there. There's another fish right there on the bottom, man. We're going to be passing some fish up through here. I'm seeing some life up here in this creek as we go. But, that's one of the things And it was a problem for me when I went to Florida this past time, and it's going to be a problem here when I go back here very soon. Knowing what you can and can't legally use, freshwater, I pretty much know. I know every fish out here. I mean, I live here. I've fished here forever. Like, I know what we're going to come across and what we ain't. I can identify these fish. But you get down there in the saltwater and there's a million different fish species. Like, I don't know what most of them are, and I don't know what you can and can't use. So I felt like I was kind of playing with fire a little bit down there last time, that I might accidentally use a bait that was illegal and incriminate myself on camera. And you better believe, had I done it, somebody out there in the internet land would have busted me for it. You know they would. You know how people are. People don't miss an opportunity to go after you if you screw up on the interweb or do something stupid. That's why, like with this Hobie Lynx, when we go out there and try out this rod holder mount that I've made, heaven forbid this thing gets ripped off the kayak, I'm going to be catching some major SHIT from the comment box on the internet. Everybody telling me what an idiot I am. But I don't know what I don't know, and I got to get out there and try it. And I may take the Lynx out on the next trip, maybe. Depends on where I end up wanting to go. The Lynx I'm pedaling, so range is going to be more limited than with this kayak with the motor. And the other thing too, with the Lynx, I can't monitor my speed like I can on this kayak where I have the graph. So pretty much going to be forced to, which I do need to try out the anchor mount on the Lynx and see how that's going to go. That's something new I've worked on yesterday too. See if we can anchor that thing. But the anchor bite, I mean, the last 2 trips, it's been very minimal fish caught, but we've gotten 2 big fish. Today, we've gotten, what, 3? We've only got 4 fish today. Golly bum. It's going to work out to about a fish an hour, folks. The Fort Loudon average here, about a fish an hour. But 3 out of the 4 have come dragging. If we'd been dragging the whole time, who knows, maybe we might have got a few more. That big bite there that we missed, come on dragging. And that's going to be doable in the Lynx, but not as easy without having access to a graph to be able to monitor our speed. And I could put this graph on that kayak, like I have another transducer for it. And once upon a time, I was moving this graph back and forth between this kayak and my Old Town pedal kayak. I was just moving the head unit back and forth between the two and plugging the transducer in each one. So I have that other transducer. I could rig it up on the Lynx, but I was just trying to keep the Lynx very bare bones, very, very minimal, as lightweight as possible. And so I'll probably leave it off for now. But maybe at some point, if these rod holder mounts work out and we start doing more catfish trips in the Lynx, then maybe I'll put on the transducer. The Lynx has that transducer scupper hole up under the kayak, same way as this Hobie Pro Angler, so you can run all your wires internally. But because the Lynx has no internal storage, you basically go from the bottom of the hull out to the deck with the wiring. And so I would have to run the wire. I could probably mount something on the seat. That's probably what I would do to store the extra wiring, because I never take the seat off of the Lynx. You can pop it on and off very quickly, and it's recommended for transport, but since I haul it in the back of the truck, if I was car topping it, I would absolutely take the seat off and the rudder. But since I'm putting it in the back of the truck, I just leave everything on. And so I could just leave that wire zip tied to the seat and plug it in whenever I wanted to use the graph on it. And just carry a small battery. I got a little 30 amp battery, 30 amp hour lithium to power these graphs. And they I don't know what they weigh, but it's just a few pounds. They're small. So it doesn't add much weight, doesn't take up much space. I could take that on and off if need be. But I mainly just want to keep it simple. I just don't want the hassle of it, if you will, because literally all we use this thing for, yes, we've seen some fish on the screen today, and I'll point them out to you when I see them and whatnot, and that's a nice novelty, but who cares? What we're doing is not going to change whether we see fish on the screen or not. What I need that thing for is, if we're dragging, I need it for speed. If we are anchor fishing, then I need it to be able to confirm that I am where I think I am on a particular structure. So I use the 2D in conjunction with the map card and see how deep I am, where I am in proximity to a ledge or point or whatever it is I'm fishing, and then set myself up. But then after that, it's kind of just back to being a novelty thing again. If we see fish, great. If we don't, no big deal. Because we're setting up on places that either fish are going to work through, or like we're doing now, dragging, we're trying to put our baits in front of some fish that may already be in this creek. But every accessory you add to a kayak is more weight and more hassle, something else to go wrong. And that Lynx being a kayak that I'm never going to trailer, like I'm going to just load it up in the truck, like that's how I'm going to haul it. The lighter I can keep it, the better. Especially when I take it places like the ocean and you got to pull it through sand. Or pick it up and carry it up rocky shorelines and stuff like that. Like the lighter you can keep it, the better. Now, those 2x4 rod holder mounts that I've talked about, that I've built there for it, those are pretty light. I mean, it's going to add, having one in the front and one in the back is going to add probably less than 5 pounds. So it's not a lot of weight, but percentage-wise, if you look at that kayak and you say, okay, the hull weighs 47 pounds, and you just added 5 pounds of weight to it, well, guess what? You just increased the weight by 10%. So it does, percentage-wise, it adds up pretty quick, every accessory you put on. And so you take this graph here, it doesn't weigh much. The battery doesn't weigh much, but it's a few pounds. So let's say the graph and the battery, that's another 5 pounds. Well, you just went up by another 10%. So between that and the rod holders setup that I got going on, you're adding 20% weight to the kayak. And so I just want to keep it, super simple if I can. But we do need, you can't just, I mean, you could just fish out there with one rod in your hand, but we need some accessories to be able to fish more efficiently, to fish better, right? Like I want to be able to fish 2 rods when I go catfishing, at least 2 rods. So we need a way to mount those rods. And there's some things you just have to have. Like, I want to keep things as minimal as possible, but some things are just necessities. Where are we at on time? Well, we're getting low on battery here, people. Let me see what time it is again, too. Let's take a look at radar here, since battery's about dead. Let me get it pulled back up. See what's going on here with the old radar. Oh man, it's getting closer, y'all. Look at that. We're right on the outside edge of it, folks. Yeah. I ain't got too much longer. It's not so much, I mean, according to that, 3:57, it's going to be over us. But I've got 30+ minute run to the car. So I'm thinking I'm going to fish just a little bit further back here. I'm going to fish, we'll fish a little bit further back here in this creek. Did something just hit that rod on the right? Did I imagine that? That'd be a good way to end the video if we could go out with a fish. We'll fish a little bit further back here. Then I'm just going to reel up. I'm going to throw the net a few times around in here. And then I'll probably just head back toward the car. I'd like to fish up in here at least to where we stop seeing bait. Because I mean, we did have that one nice takedown. And we've seen some fish on the graph, so we know there's some stuff in here. It's just, I'd really like to get back to the car before I get drenched, y'all. Especially with a day like today where we're not setting the world on fire with our catches. I mean, if we was just sitting out here catching one fish after another, I'd get wet, folks. But even though it started out pretty quick, we got bit there in that other creek. It's kind of been a dud. Got that one fun sizer and some other smalls, but setting up out there toward the entrance to that creek didn't pan out. We wasted some time with that. I should have probably just kept dragging. I just had to try it, man. I had to try it. After the last 2 trips, I had to. Them fellas there behind us has already give up. I don't understand bass fishermen at all. How long was they there? By the time they come in there, got idled over where they was at, make a few casts. Like they didn't spend 5 or 10 minutes fishing there and they already gone. Bass fishermen, though, they're probably like, well, how does that dumbass out there spend all day in one spot? Different strokes for different folks. And that's the other side of the coin, too, y'all. Let's say instead of dragging that other creek, we went back there, got our bait, and immediately went out to the entrance of it and sat there for the duration. Would we have caught more or less fish doing that? You know, we'll never know. There's no way of knowing. But as much as I sit here and play mind games and be like, well, had I kept dragging the whole time, maybe we'd got a few more fish or maybe we'd got a bigger fish. It could be just the opposite. Maybe if we hadn't dragged at all, if we just went out there and spot locked and sat there for the duration of the trip, who knows what we would have gotten. You can always play mind games with yourself. This is what I do anyway, y'all. Days where, even if I have a really good day, my mind always goes to what if. What if I had done this? Or what if I had tried that? What if I'd gone here instead of there type thing? Like, I'd do that all the time. I hope you all do that too, because I would hate to think that I'm the only person that wastes mental energy on that kind of thing. This campground over here's got a fair amount of people. It's busy during the summer, but they still got a fair amount of people during the winter too. These campgrounds, man, I'm not a camper, so I don't really see the appeal anyway, but a lot of these campground, the prices they charge, you got to just like the lifestyle, because for what you pay for a spot at the campground, you could pay rent, pay a mortgage in some cases, depending on, I mean, maybe not a mortgage of a big house, but I mean, how these little RVs, travel trailers, you're not living in a big, you're basically living in a trailer, literally. So, I mean, if you had a trailer on a piece of property, hell, the mortgage would be cheaper than the campground fee oftentimes. I just don't see the appeal of it. That's just me. I'm not into that lifestyle. And it is a lifestyle. The people who are into it, and people like me that ain't into it. But when you come into a campground, like, maybe not like right now, because it's winter and this place is, I mean, there's a lot of people here, but not like in the summer where every spot's taken. But still, you've basically got a neighbor 10 feet from your doorstep when you live in a campground like this. And maybe if it was just a place that you were visiting, maybe, you know, that I could understand better. But some of these people, like, they're year-round campers. Like, I promise you, some of these people up here in these RVs, they are year-round. Whether they live here year-round or they just travel around and stay somewhere 2 weeks to a month, something like that. Like, a lot of these people, year-round campers. I'm a homebody, man. I need roots. I need a couch and a back porch. Where are we at on time here? There's my battery. I'm in the red. My battery ain't gonna last much longer, folks. It's in the red. Disappointing. I sure was hoping we'd get something in this creek. We had our chance. I'll let y'all try to grab that rod and you blew it. I've never missed a fish in my life, but every time I let you all grab a rod, you all seem to lose it. Yeah. Right up there was another little shad flip right there on that shore. I'm going to throw the net a few times on this bank, I think, and see if I can get me some more shad for our next trip, I think. And then I think I'm gonna skedaddle after that. I gotta get my handkerchief out of here, folks. My nose, man. That may be the worst thing about fishing in the wintertime, aside from the cold, frozen hands, is your nose running. I just got out there in them leaves yesterday and that dust, and I think that's what's messed up my sinuses today. All right, folks. Well, we down to the last few minutes of battery life here, and I'm not sure we're going to get any more fish at this point. So I think I'm going to reel up, go throw the net, try to get some bait, and then I'm going to make a run before the rain. What we got here? Snag. Okay. I thought we might have conjured us one up here. But I'm going to try to get some bait, and I'm going to get out of here before that rain hits again. If we were on them, I'd sit out here and ride it out and get wet today. But we ain't on them. We gave it the college try. We got a few fish, worked out to about a fish an hour average, which is what I usually expect out here on Fort Loudon. Some days are better, some days are worse, usually about a fish an hour. Unfortunately, today, we didn't get a really big one like we did the last two trips, but still a nice day to get out. We gave it the college try here. Thought we'd do better with the weather like it is and this front coming in, and maybe the bite was on somewhere, just wasn't on for us. But nevertheless, y'all, thanks for coming with me today. We'll do it again soon. I'll see you then.